Shalom, shalom, Israel. This is a continuation of Passover, Chag Hamatzot, the Feast of Unleavened Breads, Part 2. The plagues.
All right, let me just bring a precept of what we're talking about. So we're talking about the coronavirus and in connection to today's events and prophetically, and the Feast of Unleavened Breads that we just went over last week. And I want to discuss what that connection could be, because this coronavirus thing is going all over the world right now. It's being talked about. It's here, even in Israel, or they're speaking about it. And so it's definitely doing it's the propaganda of it is really going forth stronger than any other disease that we've ever known, more than the AIDS, the virus, and all of that. This corona through the media has gone viral and has taken I wouldn't say full effect, but it's taken quite an effect on the hearts and the minds of the people and those that are biblically aware of the times that we may be living in. You know, I even had another woman to send me a video that she's been sending me videos to, I believe, the Boer Watchman, Jediah, and me, all three at the same time. Like she's refereeing our beef, right? But this woman is crazy too. I got her videos. She sent them privately. It's crazy, y'all. It's actually crazy. This woman is prophesying and everything. The thing is that she's actually talking through a demon. And I do believe that this demon that's speaking through her may have like a percentage of some knowledge of truth of what is prophesizing, but it's still, the thing is still talking all double-tongued and backwards. So she's bringing judgment on me and all, Jediah, and then she's turning around and saying Talia is the true prophet. She's going to get the 100% at the end of March. I mean, this woman has given dates. She said the two witnesses is coming and they're going to knock, or they're going to serve me lunch. But then when they come, I'm going to get the full knowledge of the truth. Like she's in her speech, she sent me 3 or 4 videos. I've only seen 2 of them, or 3 out of the ones she sent, and 3 and long letters. And she's like trying to do it's like a Balaam scenario. She's trying to curse me, right, in her messages to me. But what's coming out her mouth actually is a blessing when you hear it, right? And so it's like she can't say what it is that this spirit really wants to say. It's hilarious. When we have free time, maybe one of these days I'll let y'all see what's coming at me, y'all. Nevertheless, she's prophesying that the coronavirus is the fifth plague. Has anybody heard that? Have anybody heard any claims like that yet?
Nope.
No claims like that. Okay, she's claiming that. And so, you know, if this thing becomes the one that they push to make ends meet of their plan, this would be the one that people is like, it's the 5th plague. What did she say? It was the that it's going to plague men for 5 months. It's going to be 5 months, this plague. And then, but she said the ones that die is the ones that Yah's taken to heaven. So I guess that's all the Chinese people. Didn't make any sense. So it was crazy, y'all. It was crazy. So here's the thing. This corona thing is something that is being talked about a lot. It's a plague. It's a plague just like all the other diseases. And all of the other diseases, like I said, the numbers are high. So what is it about this corona? Absolutely nothing. But I want to bring it in perspective, because there is going to, I do believe that this rumor is going to, if they push this one, right, this corona, i.e. corona, if they push this one to the point that it works the way they want it to work, this may be the very one that they use to enforce a vaccine. I don't know if this is going to be the one, but you know, they tested the waters to see how much they can put y'all in panic mode to be ready. Right? They might take y'all on a roller coaster ride from one disease to the next. And by that time, you'll be like, hey, just give me the shot. It's just too much stuff floating around here, right? And so one of the things that he brought out is that all of it is really the same thing, right? Cancer, AIDS, HIV, tuberculosis, all of that state of, you know, I can't remember all the names, SARS, influenza, bronchitis, all of this it's all the same thing. And all they did now was make it airborne. I would say that I agree with that statement to a certain degree. I wouldn't say that they're all the same, but I would say that there's a unifying factor in all that. So let's bring it down. We talked about yeast, right? And so one of the things, I don't know if he mentions in there, but if you look up what a virus is not living. It doesn't have a life source of its own. Um, it needs a host to live off of. That means it's not a living thing, right? So then what is it? I'm going to tell you that a virus is nothing but a demonic spirit. Airborne. Demonics float through the water, they float through the air. They're you can't see them, but they float like the spirit, and you can catch them anywhere, right? That's what a virus is. And so it's a demonic spirit. It's the spirit of death that needs a host. By the time it gets to the point that it's an active virus, the host that it needs is yeast. It needs protein. So yeast is a one-cell organism. It's like Mother Earth in a sense. It's female. It's asexual, but it's female in the sense it's a host body, right? It's a host body. And yeast is a carrying cell for viruses. For viruses. And I believe that he brought that out in some of his research to show that all of that stuff was dwindled down to a form of a fungi or a yeast at the end of the day. So when Yah talks about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, getting the yeast out of your houses, that's on all levels, spiritually, mentally, physically, metaphysically, and on a real level. What is with the yeast? As we talked about spiritually, that the bread is what? The body and the word of Yah YHWH, that man cannot live by bread alone, but by the every word, right? And so he told us to get the yeast out of our house as in an insincere heart, hypocrisy, wickedness, all of that. But yeast at the same, so let me get to it. Let me move to where I need to go. Give me 1 second. Let me get down to excuse me. Okay. So really the name of this is Discern the Body. Can y'all all see that?
Yes.
Discern the body, find the yeast. So who's the body? What's the body? The body is us as a people gathered into Yahushua. We are Yahushua's body, right? But his body also is connected to us when we become a part of the body. He's the head, but we're his body. And so he's the living word. And so we must get the yeast. And so I believe Rhonda wrote something to me, and I was like, good point. Or no, it wasn't Rhonda, it might have been Derek, about something about why they try to put vinegar in Messiah's mouth on the day that Passover was coming in, right? So we know vinegar was a yeast, but it wasn't just vinegar. It was vinegar mixed with opioids. So it was like a double dose of actually putting a disease, defilement in his body all at once. To break the commandment, because that would have brought in the Feast of Unleavened Breads as he was coming in, right? And not only that, the yeast would have been vinegar, yeast going into his mouth, with the opioids, which is drugs, which is demonic possession at the same time. They was really trying to defile his whole body before he gave his sacrifice, y'all. But it was all in the name of what, y'all? Medicine. To cure his pain. To help, not to cure it, but to help him be painless on his way out. It was all with good intentions. But I want y'all to understand that Satan is a cosmic energy force, is a consciousness. Satan, is a consciousness that can work through anybody, particularly their ignorance. And as we said, good intentions as well. So when we talk about the medical field and all of that, I'm not talking to man. I'm talking to the evil consciousness that's working through man, whether it be through their ignorance or their knowledge. Because that's the difference when I say these are agents. I say these are agents. They're working for Satan. But then I'm saying some are clear agents working for the government for Satan. And some of them know what they're doing, and some of them don't know what they're doing. Nevertheless, they're still agents, right? Discern the body, find the yeast. So one of the things that we talked about is, I saw all y'all on the board talking about this guy yeast in it. What do we do with that? So we're going to answer some of those questions, right? Cheese came up. I believe that Abiyah put something about cheese to bring that balance to the understanding, and vinegar and all of this stuff. So if there's any more questions about the practical scenario, what is yeast and what needs to be removed out your house, we'll speak about that a little more. However, as I mentioned, and I didn't stress that we cleanse the house too. Typically, it's just kind of like unspoken law that we cleanse the whole house, and we call it like spring cleaning. Jews do it as a cultural thing, but for Passover, we just automatically know to clean the whole house. What is that about? To get all the yeast out the house, breadcrumbs and everything, but we know that yeast is in the air. We clean the walls, we bleach the walls down. We actually do a lot of new painting many times in the houses here in Israel, because here after the rainy season, there's a lot of mildew that comes up in the windows and on the walls in some of these brick houses here in Israel, depending on the humidity and the heat and the cold from within. So we have that issue. We have a lot of those issues, and during this time of the year, before Passover, it's not just about getting the yeast. We clean the whole house. But why do we do this? Discern the body, find the yeast. Okay. Like I said, this is going to take y'all all over the place. Feel free to ask me questions. You might get lost. You might stay lost. But the message is really clear in the end. Okay. So I'm going to repeat 1 Corinthians 24. When he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "Take it. This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in memory of me." In the same way, he also took the cup after supper, saying, "This is the cup of the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you do it, as you drink it, in memory of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim Yahushua's death until he comes. Therefore, whosoever eats this bread and drinks Yahushua's cup in a way unworthy of Yahweh will be guilty of the body of the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach." I'm going to tell you, that's the secret of all life right there. That's the secret of eating right there. As I showed it to you about in clean and unclean, it's about how you eat within the ramifications of the law of Yah. It's about how you eat it, how you drink it. This is why we're commanded not to eat and feast with people that are covetousness, that are idolaters, that are fornicators, that are because that has an energy that is being put on your food. Just that the same way that we're putting our memory, our heart, we are putting that imprint on the food. And so when we drink it and eat it, is giving it strength. We're giving it strength back to the food, and it's giving it now to us by spirit, because the earth was cursed. The food was cursed. The land was cursed. Do I see a hand? I thought I saw a hand. No.
What chapter is that?
Did I lose
You got the verse, but I don't know chapter.
I do that. Hold on. I didn't have
Abiyah said chapter 11.
chapter 11. There we go. That's my scribe. I might have missed out on some of that. I tend to do that when I get interrupted in between all of this, and I forget. Okay. So he says, "But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For he who eats and drinks in an unworthy way eats and drinks judgment to himself, if he does not discern Yahushua's body. For if we discerned ourselves, we wouldn't be judged. But when we are judged, we are punished by Yahweh, that we may not be condemned with the world." So ultimately, we know that when Yah gives us judgment, it could be a physical scenario with life, right? The stripes of men, the stripes of the world that is around us. But the direct strike that Yah might give us for sin is disease. Is disease that ultimately would lead to death. And so this is what he's saying, that did I miss something? I'm missing a verse. For this is the cause, I'm at 30. For this is the cause many of you are weak. This is in the body now. This is those that say they believe and believe that they're walking out, but we're not walking on a daily basis with a discerning of ourselves and discerning the body, discerning what's the bread and what's the yeast in our lives, and removing them, right? For this cause many of us are weak and sickly and do fall asleep. And fall asleep means die still. It's not that they're losing their internal inheritance. but still, we see death. We're gonna see death, and we're gonna see sickness on this way, right? Even in the body. So this is a judgment that Yah is putting on us that we may begin to discern, right? So sickness is the first thing that'll cause you to be like, Yah, what have I done? Show me, what do I need to do? Usually it takes that much for somebody to start to discern and act and do a Job. You know what I'm saying? Start to question and search inside and say, what's wrong with me? Where have I gone wrong? Help me discover what this caused. But but because of vaccines and cough syrups and pills and painkillers and all the drugs, aspirin, because of everything that they can sell you, Robitussin, some nasal drip, all of the the herbs, the spices, because of all of the outside things that we can use to as we think heal these things or remove them in a matter of time, then we stop doing the discernment, right? As soon as we get better, we say, praise Yah, Yah, heal me, I'm good now, keep on moving. And then you got to ask yourself, did anything change? Did you learn anything that you needed to change, whether it be in mind, your spirit, your thought process, your actions, your doings, or your puttings in your mouth? Did anything change between you getting sick and you getting healed by the medicine? And so therefore we continue to get sick and we go through these little cycles of sickness, right? We talked about yeast, and I think everybody that's on this board was here last week. So I don't, we talked about it's a small single cell fungi. It's from the fungi family, right? And that produces by fusion or budding. It's a daughter cell often remaining attached and are capable of fermenting carbohydrates into either alcohol or carbon dioxide. The difference with alcohol or with wine, I wanted to say, is that wine is when something is converted to alcohol and wine, the yeast does the work first to turn it into I'm forgetting the name. Help me out. I'm forgetting the chemical. But then a bacterium is included in that process that now eats the product of whatever the yeast is making into the microbacterial whatever microbes is turning that into alcohol. So when something has to be turned into alcohol, it's a two process between yeast and bacteria. Just wanted to say that. So sickness, disease, and death is caused by sin, breaking or missing the mark of Yah's commandments. And so what I wanted to say about that is that a lot of us say, well, I'm walking according to your word, Father. What am I doing wrong? And you may search yourself and you still can't find out where are you at fault, right? Where is the sin? But what I'm saying is that we are living in a society right now that that you may not be conscious that you're sinning. You're not the one actually sinning, but there is sin on you still because you're being defiled from outside without your awareness, without you knowing, right? That doesn't change the fact that it's still sin, and it's sin on you, whether your hands is a culprit, accountable, or acknowledgeable, or conscious of it or not. And so this was the mystery of how Yah was able, or how Balaam was able to help Balak curse Israel, right? We had to have sin on us, consciously or unconsciously. And I'm saying that everything that they have done to try to figure out how to exterminate us is by going through the commandments of Yah and finding out what thus said Yah not to do. And so they have everything that Yah said not to do. They have included in the system in which we live in, that we're not understanding that we're in sin. So when Yah says, come out of her, that you be not a partaker of her sins, right? Culpable by default. Birds of a feather flock together. You're breathing the same air. You're in the same society. You're drinking the same water. You're eating the same food. That these plagues may not come upon you. So when we talk about sin, it's not to say I'm evil. I'm calling you evil. Sin is missing the mark, missing Yah's perfect will in the matter that can defile you as well to make you clean or unclean. And people are doing that to us without our own knowledge. For example, when I was young, just because they knew we didn't eat pork, I had people in my grandmother's church that would babysit us every now and then, right? And then feed us something, knowing the rules, and then be like, so how you feel, right? You good? That was good. Then be like, the sandwich was good. Be like, yeah, it was good, right? Right? Not knowing what I ate, assuming that this brother would not have done this thing. He wasn't a brother, he was a Christian, right? And then tell me, guess what? Y'all ate pork. Ain't nothing happened to you, right? Yes, I had people in my family do that to us when we was kids, defile us on purpose, right? And so, what makes you think the man ain't doing this? You know, what makes you think they ain't doing this? Exodus. So we're gonna go through the Exodus. Moses answered, I'm in Exodus 4:1. Moses answered, but behold, they will not believe me, nor listen to my voice, for they will say, Yahweh has not appeared to you. Yahweh said to him, what is that in your hand? He said, a rod. He said, throw it on the earth. He threw it on the earth and it became a snake. So I want you to see, I know that all of y'all can't read Hebrew. You just want to have to trust me. But those that can, who can read Hebrew? I believe, Alan, can you read a little Hebrew? Or Zachariah, who can you read that? This word right here in the blue?
Le Nahash. Nahash.
Okay, Nahash. Does anybody recognize anything in that word?
Serpent.
It means serpent, right? And so, right? So I want y'all to recognize the word Nahash, right? Serpent or snake, right? So there's a rod. We're talking about the rod. We're talking about the earth. And we're talking about a snake. And Moses ran away from it and put forth his hand and took strong hold of it. And it became a rod in his hand. So he had a rod. He threw it to the earth. It became a snake, but he said, take hold of it, right? And it turned back to a rod in his hand. Now that word take hold is the very word that says that when the nations join us, that they will, if they take hold, if they grab hold to Yah's covenant, right? That he's going to heal their land, right? So what's the rod, y'all? What does the rod represent? I already kind of answered it. Anybody? No, it's not Yehoshua.
Correction.
Who? What? It's correction, but more. But what corrects us? What's the correction?
The word.
The word, the covenant. So when he says that I will bring you back underneath the rod, I will cause you to pass underneath the rod of correction, right? Underneath the covenant, to bring you back underneath the covenant. The rod represents the covenant of Yah, which is the word of Yah, which is his correcting staff, right? And so we got a rod that turned into a snake once it was thrown to the earth, right? Does anybody recognize something about this story? What who was he threw the rod to the earth and it became a snake, but what was also thrown to the earth?
Lucifer.
Lucifer, the great dragon, the snake, he was cast to the earth as well. Just I want to show y'all some connections what this story is trying to tell us, right? Because this is the story that gets overlooked a lot, and it's the first thing that Yah did besides all the other plagues. And where was I? And he took strong hold of it, and it became a rod in his hand, that they may believe that Yahweh, the Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Yaakov had appeared to you. Moving on. 6, Yahweh said again to him, now. So after he showed him that first sign, he said, now put your hand in your bosom, right? In your insides. And he put his hand in inside of his bosom. It wasn't just his heart, it was his whole mid area, his whole stomach, heart, soul, everything, right? And so he put it inside, and his hand turned leprous. That word is mezurat, like snow. It doesn't say white like snow, it's saying like snow. So whether it's the issue of that it's white, I believe that it's more than white. It's about being flaky. And skin is clear, but when it's dry, it does get white and flaky like snow, right? And he said, put your hand within again. And he put his hand back within, And he took it out from within his bosom. Behold, and it had restored like flesh. So it came back to flesh. And it will happen if they will not believe nor listen to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. So what's the latter sign, y'all? When did Moses do that again? Can anybody tell me? So the first sign was him throwing the snakes down and it becoming a rod in front of Pharaoh. When did he ever do the second sign again? When did he ever cleanse the leper?
In the wilderness?
Did he? Okay. So
Was
He
it,
did.
was it
Miriam,
the
right?
sister Mary became the leper?
Yeah.
huh?
It's Miriam.
Right, he became a leper, right? But
Yeah.
this sign, no, this sign was for Egypt. For the magicians and the to go against the gods of Egypt. These two signs was not about the people, it was about Egypt. Okay. So it says, and they will believe the voice of the latter sign. It will happen if they will not believe even those two signs, neither listen to your voice to let the people go, that you shall take of the water of the river and pour out on the dry land. The water which you will take out of the rivers will become blood in the dry land. So he didn't believe either of the signs. But we don't see that Messiah, we don't see that Moses did the second sign to Pharaoh. We don't see that at all. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this prophecy is double fold. The latter sign is for the last days. So what is the leprosy? What's the healing of the leprosy? I'm telling you that both signs actually are saying the same thing. They're both the same sign, right? But one was for Egypt first because they had the knowledge and the power of that, right? We're going to get into that. But all of our knowledge today, where does it come from, y'all? All of our sciences, all of our medicine, all of the surgery, how we learn how to do surgery, brain, heart, lung, cancer, find out all kinds of diseases and cure it with this and that. Where did that knowledge first resonate and become renowned from? Egypt, correct?
Yeah.
From Egypt. It's not new knowledge, y'all. It's not new at all. All right, so let's get into this. So the 10 plagues, we went through the 10 temptations. I'm not going to go through all the plagues, but I do want to point out that if you look at these plagues, most of these plagues are in some way, one form or another, whether in metaphor, in similarity, or in parable, or in actuality, are repeating itself in Revelations. One way or another. Just about all these plagues are going to repeat itself in Revelations, right? But is it going to look exactly the same? Not exactly. But I want to point out too, the first one is the rod into snakes, right? So when he actually went to Pharaoh, he never performed the leprosy. He did the rod into snakes, right? And the sixth one, boils equals leprosy, right? Or a form of leprosy. These are the two that I want to talk about because I'm telling you that they're synonymous. That the boils is the side effect of the snake. All right. And so that first sign was he turned it. So what does Satan? Satan is a man. Satan is a man, even though he's a cosmic, how do I say, he's a force, right? He's a cosmic consciousness but he works through man. He works through this physical world. And he has to work through the flesh, right? And he's here to destroy the flesh. Ultimately, it's leprosy. Spiritual leprosy or physical. And he's here to rob, kill, and destroy, right? Through sickness, murder, and death. But either way, it's a mental, physical, or spiritual sickness that leads to it all, right? So I want to talk about this too. Rod and the snakes, leprosy, right? And boils, right? So that wasn't the first one. It was the sign. And then we got the sixth one. So everyone's talking about this coronavirus, and you're going to start hearing spiritual people. It's the boils. It's the fifth seal, right? It's the plague in Revelations. I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying that it isn't. So like I said, I'm gonna do a lot of confusing. You follow me. So in Psalm 78, I brought up all the accounts where he's repeating the plagues. And what I thought was really interesting was what he doesn't mention in both Psalms. So we're going to read it. Psalm 78 and 41. They turned again and tempted Elohim and provoked the Holy One of Israel. They didn't remember his hand, nor the day when he redeemed them from the adversary, who he set his signs in Egypt, his wonders in the field of Zorn. So you see, he didn't call him Pharaoh, he just said the adversary. He turned their rivers into blood and their streams, and so they could not drink. He sent among them swarms of flies and devoured them, frogs, and destroyed them. He gave also the increase of the caterpillar and the labor of the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, their sycamore trees with frost. He gave over their livestock into the hail and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He threw on them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, indignation, and trouble, and a band of angels of evil. Right? He made the path for anger. He didn't spare the soul from death, but he gave their life over to the pestilence. So and he struck all the firstborn in Egypt and the chief in the strength and the tents of Ham. So you notice there's one that he's missing out of here in detail. What's the one that's missing?
The boys.
The boils. The sixth plague is not mentioned in here at all, right? But I would go to say that 49 is explaining the boils. And he threw on them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, indignation, and trouble, and a band of angels of evil. I'm going to say that he's describing the plague. It was demonic. It was demons, right, that attacked them and broke out, right? All right, let's go. Psalms 105. Did I lose y'all yet? Y'all with me? Y'all, yes? I just give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up, all right. He sent Moses, this is Psalms 105, the account. He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They performed miracles among them and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark. They didn't rebel against his word. He turned their waters into blood and killed their fish. Their lambs swarmed with frogs, even into the rooms of their kings. He spoke, and swarms of flies came out, and lice in all their borders. He gave them hail and rain with lightning in their land. He struck their vines and also their fig trees, and shattered the trees of their country. He spoke, and locusts came, and grasshoppers without number ate up every plant in their land and ate up the fruit of the ground. He struck all the firstborn in the land and the fruits of all their manna. So you notice that he also left out one plague, right? Right? Y'all can just shake your head. You know, you can see that he left out the plague of boils. Again, why in all of the accounts nobody is going back to the account of the plague of boils? Well, I'm going to presume to tell you that 35, though it lends to the locusts and the grasshoppers came without number, I'm about to show you that 34 and 35 is the outcome also of the plague of boils. And he ate up every plant in their land and ate up the fruit of their ground, right? And these locusts and grasshoppers without number. So we know that physical grasshoppers came and ate up the land. But once again, where's the boils? I'm going to show you that also is the boil. That's where the leprosy and that's the boils as well. That's just follow me. Aaron's staff becomes a serpent. 8. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, when Pharaoh speaks to you, say, perform a miracle. Then you shall tell Aaron, take your rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it became a serpent. Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, and they did so, and Yahweh commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his serpent, and it became a serpent. Then the Pharaoh also called for all the wise men and the sorcerers. They also the magicians of Egypt. They did the same thing with their enchantments, for they each cast down their rods, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he didn't listen to them, as Yah has spoken. So we saw the movie. Y'all want to see it again? Or y'all want to see it again?
Yeah, play it.
Okay, y'all want me to play it? I'll play it. Oops, sorry. Let me make sure y'all can hear
Let
it.
my people go.
I'll let y'all hear it.
Slaves are mine. The lives are mine. All that they own is mine. I do not know your
Oops, I keep doing that. Sorry.
God, nor will I let Israel go. Who are you to make their lives bitter in hard bondage? Men shall be ruled by law, not by the will of other men. Who is this God that I should let your people go? Aaron, cast down my staff before Pharaoh, that he may see the power of God. In this you shall know that the Lord is God.
Mother! Mother! You turned his staff into a cobra. Nothing of his will harm you, my son.
The power of your God is a cheap magician's trick. Janice.
Mother, look!
Oops, sorry, y'all. Uh-oh, what did I just do? Do y'all still see it? 1 second, I lost my page. Where are we?
You see?
Suppose this serpent swallows up the other.
All right, so that was the first sign. And they didn't believe it. They could duplicate this. What was that sign? What did that sign represent? What did that? It tells you it represented all their sciences and knowledge of healing. It's all the sciences of healing and life and medicine and everything that we know, that we have turned to for our instructions for our healing. We know this, right? So the serpent, but ultimately, as we come to this outbreak of the corona and we see some of this information, that many of these diseases are the same thing, and they really cause the same effect at the end of the day, maybe on different parts of the body, but it's all a flesh-eating disease at the end of the day, right? So, and we know that I can say so much about serpents. Serpents shed their skin, right? They have a double tongue. They speak enchantment into you. They spit enchantment into you with their venom. They're poisonous, and what they're poisoned, all of this is something about the snake that represents everything that Yehoshua has to undo, because the curse that Adam fell under was of the serpent. And I'm telling you, it was the flesh altogether. And so the science of the serpent is the very science that we're using to heal the very disease that he caused, which was the flesh. Right? And you shall not eat anything with blood, neither shall you do any enchantment nor sorcery. So what does that have to do, right? So the word is lo tachlu al ha'adam, right? So what's interesting, it says the way it's put, it doesn't just say you shall not eat blood. It says you shall not eat on the blood, and you shall not do enchantment nor sorcery. So the word for enchantment is, can you read this, Alan? Right here. Tenachashu. And so the root of that word would be what? That's in the pink.
Nahash.
So Nakash means what?
Serpent.
Serpent. Right? Or ta'onan, right? So this word onan, do you recognize the word in the middle with that? So this word means sorcery. But does onan is the root of the word. Do you know what onan means?
Like sin?
No, the word for onan is like cloud or dust or powder. Cloud, it means it's another word for cloud. So when he says that you shall not eat on the blood, he's telling you that we're not supposed to do anything that's messing with the blood. The word eat does not necessarily mean just eat, put in your mouth. It means to consume or to live off of or draw energy from, right? Or out from, right? Feed off of, right? As in a parasitic type scenario, or play with it, right? Because there's nothing to be done with our blood except when we go to the hospital and they playing with it, right? And so the word is nahash. This word for enchantment is the serpent. And it's connecting to the fact that you should not be doing anything with your blood, right? And the word for sorcery is ta'onanu, right? Onan. But that word is cloud. But what's the cloud in your, what does that mean? Where's the cloud in your body, y'all? Right here, your mind. Your mind is a cloud, is fiery waters, just like the word for heaven. It's the cloud, right? And so this is where your memory and your and things are stored, right? And so you can do witchcraft and enchantment either through somebody's mind, we know that, or through somebody's blood. All right. And this is coming from the lecture, the Garden of Eden, so you guys might recognize it. So we know that from all throughout antiquities, all the ancient great societies worship the snake. They worship all the beasts, right? They worship all the animals and all the creation. But the snake in particular was the one, was the highest, right? It was the one that showed the power that they were working by, and the sorcery and the magic and the knowledge that they had, which was the magic of life, the serpent, all throughout antiquities, not just in Egypt, but all the Eastern countries, right? Worshiping the snake. But you see, they're messing with all kind of animals. And what is all of this really saying? I don't read hieroglyphics, but the picture, it tells you 1,000 words of what they're doing, right? This is the same stuff that the fallen angels, where they're messing with man's blood and mixing animals, got that animal, got the scorpion, got the snake, got the bird, got all of these animals. When he talks about worshiping the creation, y'all not clear, right? And messing with it with the blood. That's all medicine is, right? In India, they know what these symbols mean all throughout time. In Sumeria. So the cosmic serpent, the origins of knowledge is the DNA. That's what all your information, your code is that makes you Adam. That makes a bird a bird, a snake, an alligator. It's in your DNA. That's your code. That's your living code. That is your book of knowledge. So we talked about the DNA, and the DNA, that's the serpent. That's man, right? That's how man, Adam, fell to the earth, though. We were made by the earth, but we wasn't supposed to live by it. We wasn't supposed to live by it. And so that's what science and all of these nations that have become great civilizations, that's what they tapped into, right? They tapped into how to play with the science of man and their blood to change them into bigger, faster, stronger, and wiser, what they would call beings. And that's what you got going on today. Not just healthier, bigger, faster, bigger, stronger, and wiser. Trying to tap into a power that wasn't for us to tap into through the serpent, right? So we see all of these things, and we know that we know what this is, y'all. Genetics, the future is now, not breaking to the cure disease and save lives. But how much should nature be engineered? Doctors and patients. Look at the image versus reality. What's the image? So we are made in the image of Elohim, but we fell, right? And so some of us are going to take the image of the beast. But what's the image of the beast? That old dragon, that serpent, right? The image versus reality. So we know what these signs mean. We got some doctors on the board. right? But we know it's not just on the doctors, it's all of those fields that carry and bear these signs is under Satan's knowledge. And Satan's knowledge cannot heal you. It is the curse. And it's through all of this that they are doing witchcraft, defiling Israel and doing witchcraft on us. All of it, whether it be through the mind, right? Through the direct access to the blood, and that's through either hormones or vaccines or whatever other way that they're doing it, or through the breath, right? And we know it's the DNA. I've gone into it. I'm not going to go into it tonight. But what does this have to do with the unleavened bread? So we're going to talk about the bronze serpent, right? I see somebody raise their hands. Go ahead, Clarence.
I was wondering, is it a difference between, I see how the Caduceus had the 2 snakes and then all the rest of them had the 1 snake. Is that the difference, or is all the meaning the same thing?
I would say that movie was well done. Listen, the fact that it's got a lot of Europeans is one thing, but that was one of the greatest movies of all time. It was well done, well written, and the nuances in their scenes that was in detail, but yet the Bible doesn't say it was 2 snakes. We know it was more than 1, right? Because it said it all the musicians. I can't say that it was 2. It could have been 10 for all we know. Right?
But that's what I'm saying. Now that you mentioned that, you must have didn't understand the question. I was saying when you showed all the symbols, you know, it had the Caduceus is
right,
2, but all of them had 1. But
Caduceus knew what they was
thinking
doing.
about it,
Yes.
you said with the movie, they threw 2 snakes and Moses threw 1.
They filling in the blanks. Yeah, they're filling in the blanks because they understand it. Why they had 2 and he had 1, right? They understand it. The producers of these movies, they search into these things with the deeper meanings. They have the esoteric books and all of that. And so that's why I say this movie was well done. There's a lot of things in that movie that go right over our heads because we're stuck to the storyline and they actually tell you something else about the story. But the bronze serpent. Okay, Numbers 21. So I'm taking you through pieces and dots, y'all. Just work with me. The bronze serpent. 21 verse 4. And they traveled from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom. And the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. The people spoke against Elohim and against Moses. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? Look at what the complaint was for this one. For there is no bread and there is no water, and our souls loathe this light or worthless bread, right? So in lieu of this particular complaint, because now they was complaining about the bread that Yehoshua gave for life, pure bread, unleavened bread. They didn't have after that unleavened bread that they had for the first week, there was no more bread, y'all. They ate manna for 40 years. They did not have bread at all. They had the true bread of life, right? Which wasn't really the true bread at the end of the day. It was the word of Yehoshua, but he put it in this, what they would call a worthless piece of bread, a little wafer that they loathed and they disdained eating, right? And they longed for bread, whether it was unleavened or they just wanted bread. So Yah sent fiery serpents, right? The word is Hanachashim ha-seraphim, right? So we know that word ha-seraphim comes from the word saraf or the seraphim. Y'all are recognizing the seraphim with the 6 angels, right? The 6 wings, 1 over their hands, 1 up, 1 down, right? So y'all have your own imagery of what the seraphim are. The word comes from the word saraf, which means to burn, right? Or to burn with fire. So fiery serpent. So what does a seraphim really mean when it says to burn? When it's talking about this burning amongst the people, and they bit the people, and many people of Israel died. The people came to Moses and said, we have sinned because we have spoken against Yahweh and against you. Pray to Yahweh that he take away the serpents, right? Hanachash from us. Moses prayed for the people. Yahweh said to Moshe, make a fiery serpent, right? Make a saraf and set it on the standard. And it shall happen that everyone who is bitten, when he sees it and shall live. Moses made a serpent of brass. So the word is nachash, nachoshet. So the word brass, I want y'all, the word for brass actually comes from the same root as the word serpent and witchcraft. Nachash, nekushet, right? So it comes from the word brass comes from the same root as the word serpent. What's the connection? And set it on the standard. And it happened that if a serpent had bitten anyone, when he looked and gazed upon it, like looked up to it, to the serpent of brass, that he lived. Now, I'm not here. I know y'all like, man, did y'all give her the secret of the brazen serpent? No, not quite. I can't tell you exactly what took place in the spirit world, that by looking at that, I can give you some assumption, but it would only be assumption, it's not a revelation, of why that could possibly have healed him. But today, it would be considered witchcraft, right? It would be considered witchcraft. But what I'm saying is that there's something that took place mentally, right? Mentally, we would call it enchantment, because it had to do with them looking up to it and doing something to their minds to produce something that would create an anti-venom for the snake in their body. So remember, I told you that every thought produces a chemical, every emotion produces a chemical reaction. And so whatever it was that created an emotion or a thought, when they looked at this thing and put their faith in it, it created a chemical reaction that created the anti-venom for the venom that they were bit with from the serpent. And I would call it something like, I don't want to say that it's the placebo scenario, right? But it is the mind over the matter. It is the science or the base of how enchantment works, right? Putting a thought in your mind and creating something from that, right? Now, y'all did this. Some of us would say, well, why would y'all have done this? Well, without the faith, he couldn't heal us, could he? If we don't have faith in him, and if we're in rebellion, he can't heal us. So he put this as a secondary replacement, but it was never his intent, right? Because we would have all been stoned, and we would have all been killed after this with these serpents. I see Clarence. Go ahead, Rachel. Go ahead, Clarence.
Yeah, I just was somebody had a question like that. He was like, why, if we don't supposed to make no images, why would the Father tell Moshe to make a image? You see what I'm saying? Like, we're not supposed to make graven images.
Right. So that's a good question. But what I would say is that Yah, when Yah says do something, it's not wrong.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's
well,
like,
see, what I was thinking, I'm just recollecting on a question that somebody asked, and what I was thinking is that he said nothing that's on, that's nothing that's on heaven and earth, no graven images on that sort.
Right.
And by bringing a seraphim, that it didn't look like nothing that they seen before. Or
right.
Did they see?
I would say that they didn't worship it. I would say that Yah created, like I said, a replacement. When we talk about a brazen serpent, the serpent represented something, right? And so we came out of Egypt. We probably still had faith in all of those sciences, and we probably recognized the knowledge of the serpent to a certain degree coming out of Egypt. With that recognition, like I said, he couldn't heal us anymore, but he was giving us grace. He allowed this for that time, but we know it became out of worship. So there was something different when Yah put it in place in this scenario versus what it became later to us, right? To actually worship it like a deity. Like, I don't believe that we was worshiping it as a deity power of its own. I believe that we recognize that Yah decided, I'm going to work through this, right? And so we recognize that because it came as a direct instruction from his mouth through Moses. Otherwise, outside of what Moses did it for, it became idol worship, straight up. Straight up. I would say that what I learned about brass is that it's not a pure metal. It's a mix of copper and zinc, right? And it's not electromagnetic, but it does interact with a magnetic force, with magnetism, which is very interesting to see the power actually of how bronze interacts, aluminum and bronze interacts with magnetic fields. right? So it's kind of like it has this counter reaction. It's very different. And I can't really explain it all, but I would imagine this thing was very humongous at the same time, and that it also probably exuded some electromagnetic energy. It did something. It had some kind of effect that we would look up to it, right? And that it would heal us from a venomous, poisonous snake. And so, like I said, y'all didn't give me revelation. I'm giving you an assumption that I'm making just based upon my knowledge, right, of how y'all works and sometimes how these things work in the spiritual world. Placebo effect in one sense. The placebo effect in one sense that they put their faith into it, that it created a thought, it created a sense, some kind of magnetized thought that was able to be imputed into them, that created a chemical that served as an anti-venom for them. And that's all I can say. That's as far as I can go.
That's funny that you said that because they got I don't know if you heard of them biomedical beats where they'll play certain music at different frequencies.
Yes.
Like they'll have
Yes.
So
I didn't do the lesson on music. I think only a few of y'all got it that came here, how powerful music is. But you know, when I do the lesson, I'll show you the research that they can change DNA with music and vibration and sound. They've been known this. And so this is why also when you hear the sound of the trumpet and cornet, people fell to the image of the beast, right? There's a reason for all of that. Okay. So the seraph is thought to be the cobra, the asp, or the adder. But when you also see that that script about that sign, you'll see that he also said that they got bit not just by cobras but by scorpions as well. So we know that there's a similarity between these things when he calls vipers and snakes and scorpions and all of that, right? That we should step on their heads. He's not talking about physical snakes. We're not stepping on physical snakes and scorpions, y'all. Trust me, y'all not gonna do that in the wilderness. He's talking about the adversary and what he's walking through, right? His knowledge and how he's trying to enchant us with poison. Go ahead, Clarice.
I want to ask a question. With the fiery serpent or seraphim that's burning, was that making them break out in like sores and bumps or something?
Yes.
Because it made me think about Indian fire.
Yes.
Because
I don't know what's Indian fire. What's Indian fire?
Indian fire is a rash, a skin outbreak.
Oh,
I had it when I.
Oh, really? I never heard of it. Gotta look that one up, right?
You have to use iodine to.
Did it look something like that? Okay. So a cobra or adder is one of the most deadliest. There's other kinds of deadly cobras and snakes and stuff like that. But it's thought to be the cobra or the adder in this sense as the seraph, right? And so I keep messing up my thing. Hold on. Where am I at? Right here. I'm still back on. Okay. So these are some of the toxins that if you get a snake bite, this is what happens to you. So I want you to recognize where they attack. Let me move this out this way so I can read it. Neurotoxins. It destroys the nerve tissue, causing neurotoxicity. Neurotoxins are extremely extensive class of exogens or chemical neurological insults. Includes neuroextoxicity and apoptosis. So we talked about apoptosis is a cell death. Basically, it's killing your neuronic tissue, right? It's eating your neuronic tissue and creating a cell death or a cell death, but can also include glial cell damage. Hemotoxins, right? So this is what's in snake venom. Destroys red blood cells that it can cause hemotoxin, disrupt blood clotting, or cause organ degeneration and generalized tissue damage, right? So this is what a hemotoxin in snake venom can do. Then we have myotoxins, are small basic peptides involved a non-enzymatic mechanism that leads to severe muscle necrosis, diaphragmatic paralysis, right? So to put you in a paralysis. This is what I call bloodsuckers. Like when you have paralysis and sleep, those are bloodsuckers. Those are vampires that gotta put you in paralysis so they can get some of your blood. That's what they do. So they punks them. They real cowards. They love to get you when you sleep and put you in paralysis. Okay, you got nephrotoxins. Nephrotoxins is a toxic agent or substance that inhibits or damages or destroys cells and or tissues of the kidney. Cardiotoxin 3 is a 60 amino acid polypeptide toxin. CTTC is a small hemoprotein found loosely associated with the inner membrane of the mitochondrium. It belongs to the cytochrome C family of proteins and plays a major role in cell apoptosis, right? And necrotides, a toxin that kills tissue cells, such as the one of the exotoxins secreted by species of Clostridium or Staphylococcus. Sorry about that. So here's the result of what that would look like when you get a snake bite, particularly when you have the myotoxins and the necrotoxins. So it basically looks like a boil, right? And that's acid just eating away at your flesh. Eating away at which that's what Satan is doing to us ever so slowly in this human body. He's eating. He is a virus. He's a plague. He's a yeast eating away at the flesh, the body of Yahushua, and your own flesh. So bear with me. I'm making points, right? I'm bringing this together. So there's a little different. Flow with me on this one. Okay. 2 Kings 18, chapter 3, Hezekiah. Hezekiah, did that which was right in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that David his father had done. He removed the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the poles of Asherah. He broke into pieces the bronze snake Moses had made, for up to that time the Israelites had been burning incense to it. It was called Nehushtan. So by the time they began to burn incense to it, it means that they're praying to this thing. They gave it an actual characterization in the name. That means that a demon, now it wasn't the power of Yah, that a demon had replaced it as a epithet. Not an epithet. What's the word I'm looking for? I always forget this word. So when a demon is miming behind an image or a name that is created as a deity, but it's really not. It in itself has no power, but it's a force behind it.
An egregore.
Egregore. Thank you very much. So what I'm saying is, by this time, Yah only used it in that time, right? So at that time, Yah was the egregore behind this thing, right? He said, okay, they don't want to believe in me. I got to put something in place of me, right? My mercy. Look to it, right? But we knew it was directed from Yah, not the calf, not the star, not anything else. But at that point, when Yah was no longer behind this, because he looked for us to now keep his covenant, and he made a new covenant that if we don't keep it, forget the snake, all of these plagues are going to hit you. That was not in effect anymore. He was no longer behind the image. So the image was just mute and dumb. It had no power. But the people began to burn incense to it. That means they prayed to it. That means they put their faith and their heart in the image now, right? And so something took the power of the prayers and it became idol worship. And they named it, they gave it a character and a name, and it became a deity to them. So was it a deity? No, it was a demon that just now mimed it, right? And so this is why it became now idol worship. John, go ahead.
So it was a video I seen. This goes back to, I guess, the demon thing. There's a video I seen in like India. They were like pouring milk into like this small statue, and it was drinking it or something. Mm-hmm. Is that along the lines of what you was talking about?
All of that. You put cake. Listen, if you know anything about the Orishas, they put cake and give it alcohol. Some put popcorn on it. Some of them have special kind of cakes that they like. So they make cake to the queens of heaven. They'll give fruit. They'll burn the incense. All of this stuff. These are Yah asks for the grain. But he's like, I don't need to eat it. Give it to the poor. what I look like that I need to eat, right? You know, yes, all of that stuff. So I'm in John 3, no, Yehoshua and Nicodemus, 1. Now there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to him by night and said to him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from Elohim. No one can do these signs that you do unless Elohim is with him. Yahushua answered him, most certainly I tell you, unless one is born anew, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. So he's saying, yes. So you see, you believe in me, right? I'm doing all these mighty wonders, but you must be born again to enter into the kingdom, right? Nicodemus said to him, how can a man be born again when he is old? Can he enter a second time in his mother's womb and be born again? Yahushua answered, most certainly I tell you, unless one is born of water and spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. That which is born of flesh is flesh. That which is born of spirit is spirit. Don't marvel that I said this to you. You must be born anew. So what does this have to do? What does this have to do with the snake? The snake represents the flesh, but then the body of Yahushua was to be born into the spirit, a new flesh, a new bread, a new bacon, right? And so how did we be born again? And so when you see the diseases and the plagues of the serpent, right, it's always attacking your DNA, your flesh, your protein. It's all flesh, y'all, right? And so he's attacking it. But also to come into his image is to change your DNA, which is nothing but protein anyway. It's nothing but protein anyway. And so when you were born, all your mother lent to you was a shell. Protein. A bunch of protein. You're a piece of meat. You are earthen vessel, right? Protein, right? That's all she lent to you. And so your protein can be, your cells are dying and being renewed in this earth. That's how you can be born again into anything. You can be Troy Holiday. Who's that?
This is Troy. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. It's Troy. Oh, shalom, brother.
Hey, Shalom. How are you, sister?
I didn't know. How long have you been on? I didn't even see you.
Yeah, I've been on the whole time. I can't see myself, so I guess I don't have camera. But
You don't have a
been on.
camera?
It's not working, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Not on this computer.
Okay.
I do have a camera. Yes, I do have a camera to answer your question.
Okay, it's just not working. All right, we're gonna have to figure that out. I would like to see what you look like eventually.
Yeah, it has start video, but it has a little red line across the camera.
Oh, just press it. Press it again.
Okay.
Did it come off?
It won't come off. No, it won't come off.
All right. There's an arrow that might help you go into video settings. That is the arrow on the right hand side of the video, and it says that might help you. You can go figure that out. All right. Welcome, brother. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
All right. So where was I? You can be born again because your body is going through a program apoptosis on a daily basis. Cells are dying and new cells are being reborn again. And so if you change your RNA, your DNA, that your RNA now is creating a new pattern. That is how you're born again. You can actually literally become a different person from one day to the next and be something else. You can become a Nephilim. You cannot be a son of Adam anymore. And so once that, if you like I said, you're either going to take the image of the beast or you're going to take the image of Yahushua, his seed, his DNA. That's the image, right? The image of the serpent, the dragon in full, or the image of Yahushua in full. This is to be sealed now. This is to be born again. And so this is the time that we're in, that Yah says that everyone must be sealed one way or the other, but there's no in between anymore, right? Because time is short. We weren't intended to live like this for 1,000 years in this state. There has to be a choice made, and time is short. So we are getting sealed now, one way or the other. Our DNA is going to be transformed completely into the image of the serpent, of the beast, or it's going to be transformed and renewed into the image of Yahushua. And that is to be born again. So you got to be born again to enter into the kingdom, because our DNA is still polluted with some of the serpent seed, if you know what I'm saying. We're not completely like in his image anymore, but he's working through our flesh and his DNA. We're eating through those trees, and so his DNA is in our DNA. As we went through the science of the junk DNA versus the real DNA, right? The junk DNA versus the DNA that the world is using and telling you it's your whole DNA code is only 2% of your DNA code. So what's the other 98%? That's the image of Yahushua. That's the tree. That's the rod that has been locked, and it can only be released by returning to the fullness of the covenant. Otherwise, we're still living off of 2% of our DNA. It's only 2%. But if they tap into your genetic code and tap into your junk DNA, they call it junk. It's not junk, right? That's the tree of life. And they tap into that and change your whole code. You are completely of the serpent now. You are made anew. 8, the wind blows where it wants to, and you hear its sound, but don't know where it comes from and where it is going. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit. Nicodemus answered him, how can these things be? Yehoshua answered him, are you the teacher of Israel and don't understand these things? Most certainly, I tell you, we speak that which we know and testify of that which we have seen, and you don't receive our witness. If I've told you earthly things and you don't believe, how will you believe if I tell you about heavenly things? So what he was talking about was very earthly, right? Something right here, maintainable and comprehensible on this earth. As I'm speaking it to you now, it's science. No one has ascended into heaven, but he who descended out of heaven, the Son of Man who is in heaven. As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. So the serpent at the end of the day is representing the one that caused the fall. The serpent was cast to the ground, right? And so was Adam, was sent back to the earth to live like that, underneath that curse. And so therefore we die. We don't have eternal life. But we don't look towards the serpent, his image, his medicine, his knowledge, his whatever you want to call it, his power. We must look towards Yahushua and lift him up, right? And so when you look at him, the way we was looking at the serpent, right, which was a transforming of our mind and putting faith in the power behind that image, when we now take on the image and put our faith in the image of Yahushua, not the flesh man, the spirit man, right? The spirit man, and understand that he came from heaven, right? And we were made in his image and put our faith in that and believe in him, is when we will obtain everlasting life and become healed. Because healing comes in whose wings? The seraphim, the serpent with wings, or Yehoshua's wings? Healing is coming in his wings. All right. John 6:51. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he will live forever. And this bread which I give for the life of the world is my flesh. So he was the rod. He was the serpent that ate the other serpents. He came down in that very flesh of the serpent, but yet he was a rod. He was actually the living bread that came down from heaven, that came down and was cast to the earth. Now, he, just like Satan, to live in the flesh to show you how you can overcome it, how you can overcome Satan, how you can overcome the flesh, how you can live forever. And that is just an illusion, just an illusion. Exodus 9, the 6th plague, boil. So where am I taking you with all of this? Please follow with me. Follow along. This is a little different than anything how I teach all over the place, right? Exodus 9 and 8. Yahweh said to Moshe and Aharon, take you the handful of ashes of the furnace and let Moses sprinkle it towards the sky in the sight of Pharaoh. It shall become small dust, powder, or ash over all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with boils on man and animal throughout all the land of Egypt. So we talked about the first plague. But I'm telling you, and I'm going to show you in the end that the first plague was resemblance of the sixth plague, and it's going to repeat itself, right? So what is with this, that he took the ashes out of a furnace, right? And he threw it up in the air as powder. This is what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that he took the plague of leprosy and made it airborne. That's what happened. He took the plague and just changed it. And it mutated. You know, when you talk about ashes and furnace, you talk about fire that's coming from a hot fire. But there's radiation coming out for certain coals and fires, depending on what you burn and stuff like that. Radiation, right, also can cause mutation in viruses, bacteria, and germs, right? The sun can have an effect on certain mutations and radiation and exposure to certain germs and bacteria where they can change how they function, right? They can take on another host body and alter themselves. It's the same thing, but they take on another form. So what I'm telling you here is that this was nothing but the first plague, leprosy, that he changed into an airborne disease when he threw the ashes up. That's what I'm telling you is going on with all of this stuff now, with all the diseases, because I'm gonna show you how it all comes back down to what we would call in a form of a boil or leprosy, right? And that all of those breakouts, the sign is some kind of flesh-eating disease, right? That is eating your flesh, and it has a sign at the end. It's going to break out in a boil eventually, right? They took the ashes of the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses sprinkled it up towards the sky, and it became a boil breaking forth with boils on man and on animal. The magicians couldn't stand before Moshe because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians and all the Egyptians. Magicians couldn't stand before Moses because the boils, for the boils were on all the magicians and on all the Egyptians. Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he didn't listen to them, and Yahweh had spoken. So Yahweh said to Moshe, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh and tell him, this is what Yahweh, the Elohim of Hebrews, says. Let my people go that they may serve me. For this time I will send all my plagues against your heart and against your officials and against your people, that you may know that there is none like me in all the earth. For now I would have put forth my hand and struck you and your people with pestilence, and you would have been cut off from the earth. But indeed, for this cause I have made you stand, to show you my power, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth, as you still exalt yourself against my people, that you won't let them go. Now, a lot of people keep saying, well, Pharaoh won't let us go. We can't go nowhere to the Egypt today. No, we can go with the help and the leading and the return of Yahushua and his Holy Spirit in obedience. But yet we know that they have created every law, every scenario, whether it be mental, right, that our own minds won't let us go, the fear, the cognizant dissonance of what would I do, how should I live, all I know is Babylon, the medicine, you know, the everything that his kingdom is offering you is the reasons why you can't go, right? And so it's the serpent still not letting you go. Because when I get to the lesson of who's your Pharaoh, right? Who's the Pharaoh in your heart and heart that won't let you go? Not Trump, y'all. Y'all understand? It's not Trump. Trump is not the Pharaoh that won't let you go. That's not the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is the hardest in your heart that you won't let go so you can be free, right? So the word for leprosy, like I said, I'm giving you all these dots. Please help me, because I'm bringing this all down to what all of these viruses are, right? All that's going on and what they're trying to do. And we know that some of the plagues that Pharaoh duplicated, and Pharaoh is going to duplicate them in the end, right? The beast, as we say, is going to duplicate this darn near all of the plagues in the last days. That's why we have this kind of scenario in Revelations that people can't figure out, well, why is something looking like it's happening twice? But yet it's the same thing, but yet it's not, and I'm confused. So I'm going to take you a little bit through that. You, like I said, you might get more confused before you get understanding, but I'm not here to break down the whole mystery and the timeline of Revelations. So the word for leprosy is sarah, to be struck with leprosy or to be leprous. The word for boil is shechin, which is a boil or eruption. It comes from the Arabic root shakaf, is peel off, as effect with consumption of lungs. So I want y'all to hear this, right? Because when we talked about, I said that it became airborne, and all of this coronavirus, as he's showing, is a multitude of viruses that lead back to all the same thing, right? And so you can get it you can get it through sexual transmission, but there's certain, these diseases have taken different forms, right? Where you have to get it, where you contract it another way. But this thing, right? This thing called boil is saying that it was a consumption of the lungs. The Jewish Aramaic shakaf for shakefet, or boil bach, for an unused root, probably meaning to burn, inflammation, and also boil or botch. So though we know that we have the flesh on the outside that creates a boil, a lot of the diseases that you just saw is an attack on your lungs. On your lungs first. Because if it becomes airborne, that's the first place it's going, to your lungs. So as we get to this coronavirus, that's not a new virus at all, that it comes underneath the whole heading of what we call SARS, tuberculosis, bronchitis, all this other stuff that he's showing you is related to HIV, cancer, other stuff. Let's show you that the Bible has already declared what all of this stuff is. Okay, Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if you will not listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these accursed or trifling things, hakelachot, shall come on you and overtake you. You shall be accursed, aror, in the city, and you shall be cursed in the field. Your basket and your kneading trough shall be cursed. The fruit of your womb, for the fruit of your ground, the increase of your livestock and your young and your flock shall be cursed. I'm not going through all the curses. I'm just getting to a select few. You shall be cursed when you come in. You shall be cursed when you go out. Skipping on down to 20. Yahweh will send on you cursing, hamarah, which is a confusion and a panic. So this curse is something about the mind, right? And a rebuke. A cursing, hamarah, and confusion and a panic. The word is hamurma, and a rebuke, hamagaret. In all that you put your hands to do, until you are exterminated, right? And until you perish. I want you to look at this word, abadika, right? So can anybody that knows Hebrew tell me what the root of that word? Until you should utterly perish. This utterly perish does not mean die, right? The extermination is the death, but the perishing is the kind of death, which it means that your soul is going to reap the second death as well. Your soul is corrupted, not just your flesh, not just your body, right? So, Alan, what's the root? What's the three-letter root of this word? I want y'all to remember this.
I'm not too sure.
Abad. The ka is your, and you should, and you. Abad, right? I want y'all to remember this word, because we're talking about the curses of Egypt, the plagues, right? The diseases that Yah is going to put on you if you don't repent and return to him, right? These plagues that's going to become an everlasting plague upon you, and it's going to overtake you, excuse me. So he says that you shall be exterminated, right? So Israel has not gone through an extermination yet. I'm telling you, we're about to. This is Deuteronomy 28, that we know that those curses are going to hit us all the way into the end, right? So we're talking about extermination until you are perished quickly because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me. So remember this word, abad, right? Which means perish or utter destruction because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me. Yahweh will make the pestilence, the word is deber, thorns or plagues, which I found really interesting because that word comes from the root word dabar, which means word. So in essence, we know that Yehoshua is the word, right? He's the living bread. But if you don't want Yehoshua, then the other word, right? Because that's what Satan spoke against Yah's word, right? There was two words in the garden. The other word, not the dabar, but the debel, is the word for pestilence, thorns, or plagues. That's what you're going to eat all the day. So he says, and you shall eat thorns and thistles all the days of your life. What y'all eat, right? So cling to you until he has consumed you from off the land where you go to possess it. Yahweh will strike you with consumption. So the word is bashakefet. But if anyone goes into the Hebrew and look at what that word means today, it's the word for tuberculosis, a lung cancer, a lung infection, just like we saw. And with fever or burning ache, that's badakat. And with inflammation and infection, badaleket. So that means daleket is used for inflammation or infection. And with severe heat or bore, and so this word severe heat or bore a hole or ulcers, right? Bakarakur, with the flaming sword, kerev, right? So with a blight, right, or malnourishment, this word basadafon in Hebrew, it means blight. But if you look up the word, it's a form of burning where you're like eating it's a form of malnourishment, right? And with mildew, and they shall pursue you until you perish. So with mildew, what is the mildew, right? So when we talk about yeast and fungus and leprosy, it's all mildew, right? That's all a cancer is. That's all these diseases is some form of a fungi or a yeast that has now become a host for a virus, the spirit of death, whether it be airborne or contracted through your waters, either or through your flesh. And they shall pursue you until you perish. Your heaven that is over your head shall be brass. What is he talking about? Is he talking about the heavens up there, you guys? The heaven. What's in the heavens, y'all? What's in the heavens?
Clouds, air.
Clouds. The word for cloud is also anan. So when we talk about that, you shall do no enchantment or sorcery, anan, right? This is your heaven. And your heart is your earth. That's your heaven, right? That's the cloud right there. And that is where the witchcraft is, the nekushet, right here. That word brass is another word for the serpent or enchantment, right? So that's what's happening. Your mind is going to be enchanted with the serpent. And the earth that is under you shall be iron. Your heart is full of heavy metals and iron. And that's what we live by. Yahweh will make the rain on your land powder and dry dust. From the heaven shall it come down on you until you are destroyed. Now, I'm showing you how that's working in the body, but I'm saying as well, Pharaoh has duplicated all of this, right? Is he not spraying all these heavy metals in your air? Is he not creating all of this and making everything airborne now? Did he not put it in your earth, in your food, in your grains? It's in everything. It's in your soil. It's in everything. So this stuff that y'all said he's going to do if we don't keep his commandments, it's happening through the nations. It's happening through the witchcraft. It's happening through the breaking of the commandment. And they're doing it, but we also are partakers in this. Deuteronomy 28. And Yahweh will cause you to be struck before your enemies, and you shall go out one way against them and shall flee 7 ways before them. And you shall be tossed back and forth among all the kingdoms of the earth. Your dead body shall be food to all the birds of the sky and to the animals of the earth, and there shall none to frighten them away. So that is the final prophecy of Abraham when we become a slaughter. 2/3. This is the end of the matter right here. I'm in 27. I don't know why I skipped 26. Yahweh will strike you with the boil, right? So it's Beshechim, with the boil or eruption of Egypt, and in mounds, right? So the mounds mean like mounds is another word for like cysts or abscesses, and with tumors or hemorrhoids, and with the scurvy or the scab or the eczema. So this word can be translated as scurvy, scab, or eczema, and with the itch, right, on which you cannot be healed. So all of these diseases that he just said, if you break my covenant, I'm going to put all of this on you, cannot be healed, y'all. There's no cure. There's no vaccine for it. There's no cure for them. And so I'm telling you, there ain't nobody been cured from these diseases. None of them. Nobody. Yahweh will strike you with madness, meshigaon, right? Craziness. So your mind is messed up. This is schizophrenia. This is losing memory, memory loss. This is all of the mental diseases that we as Black people suffer. Just walk down any ghetto and you're going to see demons walking. Madness. And with blindness, right? And with astonishment or stupidity or being dumbfounded of heart. That's the condition of our people. Right? So that you shall be mad or crazy for the sight of your eyes, which you shall see. Yahweh will strike you with the sore, a boil in your knees and in your legs or your thighs or your hips, on which you cannot be healed, from the sole of your foot to the crown of your head. And tell me that this is not what at least every single one of us on this board has suffered with one of these plagues one way or another, whether it be arthritis, whether it be cancer, whether it be bronchitis, whether it be a cold, whether it be flu, whether it be some kind of STD, herpes, gonorrhea, somewhere on the line, mono, y'all know what it is, right? The flu. We've all been hit with the chicken pox or the measles or the mumps. We've all gotten a piece of this some way or went crazy. How about that? We done all lost our minds somewhere in life, right? So these plagues have hit every single one of us, right? Now, it is all by a breaking of his commandments, whether we knew it or not, whether the outside man was allowed to put it on us or not through the vaccines, right? I'm not just blaming it all on the vaccines. It's more to it than the vaccine. If he don't get you with the vaccines, he's got you with everything else. And the only thing that's going to protect you from this is not Lysol at the end of the day, right? Yes, wash your hands. That's a part of the cleanliness. That's what we had to go through when we were unclean. Wash, definitely. Pray and repent. Return to the covenant. Deuteronomy 28 and 58. If you will not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in the book, that you may fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahweh, your Elohim, then Yahweh will make your plagues wonderful, and the plagues of your seed, even great plagues, of a long countenance and severe sickness, and of long countenance. He will bring on you again all the diseases of Egypt, which you were afraid of, and that shall cling to you. And every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the law, Yahweh will bring them on you until you are destroyed. You shall be left few in number, as you were as the stars of the sky for a multitude, because you didn't listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. I'm saying that there's no new disease. They just wasn't written in this book. It's the same diseases. All they did is that they mutated them. They're mutating them, create different strengths, different side effects, different ways to catch them, different parts of the bodies that they particularly attack. But there's no new plague, y'all. It was always there. It just wasn't written in the book. And Egypt had them all. But yet they had all of the medicine in the world. So all of y'all that watched that other one said something is wrong with how they pushing this coronavirus, y'all. The amount of deaths that's caused the coronavirus that's not even new, it's been around for years, right? It's not even compared to the AIDS, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, car accidents. It's not compared to any of that. So why are they pushing this like that, right?
It's like how they did with Ebola, and now you don't hear about it.
Right, right. Definitely, right? Definitely. So I see 2 hands. I don't know whose hands they are. Go ahead and ask your question. No, I'm just seeing hands.
Yeah, sure.
Who's speaking?
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Something just happened to my.
I got 3 questions, really. What first question when it says my hand standing with the serpent?
Wow.
Does that kind of correlate?
Wait, can anybody understand him? Can anybody? You're like all muffled. Hello? No.
Can you hear me better?
Speak again.
No.
No, I think I hear you now. Go ahead.
My first question is, when you mentioned about the mind enchanted with the serpent, does that kind of correlate with a reprobate mind?
I missed 2 words that you're saying that sounds important. Say that again.
You said that they correlate with a reprobate mind.
That I'm missing something in the sentence that's not making.
The serpent.
Go ahead. Our connection is bad. Go ahead.
Correlate.
No, one more time. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me better now?
No.
I'll ask later. There's no big problem. I'll ask you later.
All right. Hold
Go
it.
ahead.
Hold it, baby. Maybe to get
You
better.
said, does the serpent correlate with the reprobate mind?
Yeah, it correlates with all of that. A reprobate mind, a reprobate heart, reprobate DNA, a reprobate everything. Yeah. I mean, that's the first order of how he got in, through our mind, through a word, deber, a word, right? That's why we gotta be careful whose words we listen and take in, because they got power, right? Where was I? And every plague which is not written in this book, in this law, Yahweh will bring on them on you until you are destroyed. You shall be left few in number, as you were the stars of the sky for a multitude, because you didn't listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. So I'm in Leviticus 26 now. So Yah said that these plagues, all the plagues of Egypt, if by the time we either gonna come underneath the rod of the covenant, or we're gonna come under the rod of the snake, but it's one or the other. And if we don't keep Yah's commands, Yah said, I'm gonna put all the plagues of Egypt on you. So where are we getting all these plagues? Where are we getting all the plagues? In Egypt, all over again. But yet this is the land that has the best medical care in the world, right? Supposedly. Something's wrong with that. I'm gonna tell you, it was the same for Egypt. There was a lot of death in Egypt. They had a lot of stupid things that they did. With all their wisdom, they still didn't have wisdom, and a lot of them died young and died of all of these sickness and diseases. They really didn't have a cure for all of them. They didn't. They thought they did. They can create them, right? They know how to duplicate the plagues and create them and manipulate them. They did not have the science to really heal any sickness and any disease. And such as we got now the science of that very, very same society, all of their knowledge, we done dug up and recreated, only to figure out that we can only create more diseases. We can't cure nothing. Right? Just shift one disease to the next. By the time they gave you the pill, it's demons curing demons, right? They give you the pill to cure one demon, only to tell you it's got 7 other demons that might come in after taking that one, right? Called side effects. And the very thing that is supposed to cure, right? The very thing that is supposed to cure after you finish taking all that medicine is the very thing that's attacking, which is your soul, your liver, your kidneys, and your heart, and your lungs. Don't make no sense, y'all. And your mind. The very things that is your life source don't make no sense. How stupid can we be? Leviticus 26:14. But if you will not listen to me and will not do all these commandments, and if you will, and you shall reject my statutes, and if your soul abhors my ordinance, understand this, that this is not just about not doing them. This is about how you feel about doing his laws and statutes. Because you know, some of us do them what we would call in obedience, but we still got an attitude behind doing it. You know that, right? You know that can change the effect, like you're still in the sin. You're not repentant. Your mind ain't changed. So if your mind ain't changed, guess what? The effect of keeping the righteousness won't induce the right chemistry to heal you of your sickness. Though you keep committing, though you doing y'all's word. So like I said, we say we doing y'all's commandments, but you like, well, what's happening? Why am I still sick, y'all? Because you haven't discerned the body, which is the real word. You haven't discerned the spirit of Yahushua. The word, the spirit of his word. You haven't taken it truly in your heart. You might be doing it with your hands and feet. You don't love his commandments. You don't love to do them. And I'm gonna tell you, that's the condition of most Hebrew Israelites, so-called, awakened to Hebrews now. They're doing his commandments. They don't really want to do them. They don't love to do them. It's just a side effect. I gotta do it or I'm gonna die. Right? So Leviticus 26 and 14, but if you will not, I'm in 15, and if you shall reject my statute, and if your soul abhors my ordinance, so that you will not do all my commandments, but break my covenant, I will also do this to you. I will appoint over you in terror the consumption. The word is also translated as tuberculosis, and a fever burning ache that shall consume the eyes and make the soul of you pine away. Right? And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies will eat it. What is that talking about? What could that be talking about, y'all? All right, what we talking about diseases, right? And now it could consume your eyes and make your soul pine away. So one of the things for detecting tuberculosis is looking at somebody's eyes. I don't know if you can detect. Who brought that up today? Somebody brought it up today, and I was like, yes, we had somebody that used to be in our ministry a long time ago that used to read eyes, iridology, right? And so they would see certain clots or certain things or colors in the eyes to say what's going on with either your liver, your kidneys, and stuff like that, right? And so, and you shall be, what was that? And consume your eyes and make your soul is pining away. That's your heart, y'all. And will sow your seed in vain. What does this have to do with sowing your seed in vain? For your enemies will eat it. What does that look like? Are our enemies eating our kids, y'all? What could this possibly mean? Tell me what you think this could be talking about. Because you know nobody's taking their babies to the top of a mountain, slicing them in half, and putting them in the fire. You know nobody's doing that, right? Amongst Israel. Right? Huh?
Abortion.
But this is abortion. This is our enemies going to eat our babies. What abortion? And now what they do with abortion?
You can take those in the room with you, cause okay, you can take them in the
So
room.
what they aborting the babies for? To get the what?
Stem cells.
The stem cells, right? And to do what? The flesh, right? The cells to do what? To put in the vaccine to create a host for the disease, so that it can be attached to us. And we take it, and you don't even know that it's cannibalism, y'all. It's cannibalism.
They put it in the food too.
Cannibalism.
It's in the food too. It's cannibalism. And so your enemies are eating your children, but you're eating your children too. You're eating your children too. So eating is not just putting it in your mouth. It's anything that goes in the blood is being consumed. It's being consumed. This is what this is talking about. All of y'all that is aborting your babies, that's what you're doing with it, right? Or have done that. That's what they've done with your babies. Your babies ain't gone in the garbage. Those
Deleting. I'm sorry, Fitzgerald asked his second question to you, and it was, does any of what you're talking about have anything to do with Job?
With Job. Job suffered all those plagues. But Job was sinless. But what he still had to do was search his heart to make sure, right? To make sure that he wasn't walking in sin and pride. And so that I will say that the faith of Job is asking you to do the same thing. Is asking you to do the same thing, whether you, because we all got one of the plagues of Job, regardless. And I'm gonna tell you that we're not sinless, we deserved it. So Job had to check his heart anyway and try to figure out, well, where did I sin, Father? Only to discover that he was sinless. Once he came to the full knowledge of that, Yah replaced him, as long as it was his test to see if he was going to still curse Yah. But yes, I would say, are you going to still curse Yah? Okay, because you got, because you got the plague now. You still going to curse Yah? You're going to disobey him still? You don't want to do his covenants? You don't love him? I will set my face against you, and you will be struck before your enemies. Those who hate you will rule over you, and you will flee when no one pursues you. If you, in spite of these things, will not listen to me, then I will chastise you 7 times more for your sin. If you walk contrary to me and won't listen to me, then I will bring 7 times more plagues on you according to your sins. I will send the wild animals amongst you, which will rob you of your children. Is he talking about wild animals? Yes and no. Once we fled through Africa, that's certainly different. Some wild animals, but there was no big, scenario where we were just being killed by wild animals. The wild animals is the nations that we're in, the beast, which will rob you of your children, destroy your livestock, and make you few in number, and your roads will become desolate. He already said who was going to do this. Our enemies. If by these things you won't be reformed to me, but will walk contrary to me. But will walk contrary to me, then I will also walk contrary to you, and I will strike you, even I, 7 times for your sins. I will bring you a sword. I will bring a sword upon you that will execute the vengeance of the covenant, and you will be gathered together within your cities, and I will send the pestilence among you, and you will be delivered into the hand of your enemy. I'm skipping down to 40. If they confess, this is the prerequisite, if they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers in their trespass, which they have trespassed against me, and I'm telling you, that's still a problem with a lot of us now. We still are not repenting for our father's sins. We may be repenting for our own. We still having trouble with going inside ourselves and searching to see all what we've done. We want to forget the stuff that we did all the way from 5 to 10 years old, right? Because we were like babies, right? We didn't know no better. Stop playing, right? And so we still having a problem with our own confession and return. But I'm telling you, when it comes to our parents, y'all still won't confess for them. You still won't confess their iniquity. You still have slighted y'all's judgment for the sake of your parents. I will also walk contrary to them and brought them into the land of their enemies. If their uncircumcised heart is humbled, and they then accept the punishment of their iniquity, then I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. And so, like I said, people talk about repentance and returning. They're not confessing their parents' sin. They respect what their parents do, and just respect what I do. And I'm not going to judge you if you don't judge me, mother and daddy. Not, right? We walk in contrary. We have an uncircumcised heart. So it's a heart matter. It's the heart. It's not just you doing the commandments outwardly. And accept the punishment. We as Negroes still have not accepted our punishment. We've done everything we can to live like Pharaoh, to become one with Pharaoh, to be a part of his society, his people, his land, his prosperity. And that's not what we were sent here to do. Pharaoh made sure that we remained slaves in Egypt. Somehow Pharaoh got slick and said, let those Negroes think they're free. Right? So, and let them strive to be free, because they building our kingdom. The harder they work for their riches and gold and silver, the harder they working for me. Right? 43, and the land will also be left by them, and will enjoy its Shabbats while it lies desolate without them. And they will accept the punishment of their iniquity, because they rejected my ordinances, and their soul abhorred my statutes. For yet all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. For I am Yahweh the Elohim, But I will, for their sake, remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations, that I might be their Elohim. I am Yahweh. So we know there's an end, but there's a remnant, just so he can preserve his promise to us. These are the statutes and ordinances and the laws which Yahweh made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by Moshe. So I'm coming back to the plague of the boils. We just read all of these plagues. And if you go through the science or whatever science you want to go through, you want to find out it's all boiling down to the same diseases, right? Just switched up in a different way. Taking on the host, right? The fifth trump or the fifth veil equals boils. So I had this lesson. I had put up this, and this is not the whole. I can't never put all the revelations in the chart. Just can't seem to find enough space to do it. But I put this up in the coming of the Son of Man to show something that a lot of people don't seem to notice, right? And it's hard to notice this if you just read it in words and don't make a chart and go and follow the book, right? That the Christians have given us their summation. Now we know that there's like the seals and then there's the trumpets. And then after the seventh trumpet, there are seven thunders that he says we don't even know what those are, right? But then yet you'll hear people act like there's one event that's taking place. That's just Babylon falling. That's the end. The plagues are coming in Egypt, Babylon, and that's the end of the matter. But that's not what the prophecies dictate. As I showed you, that there's something called the end, and Babylon falls, America. But after that Babylon falls, there has to be another Babylon that reigns for 3.5 years, right? So there is another nation that is doomed to become the world leading nation that's going to reign for 3.5 years. So that can't be America. After America goes down, that can't be the end all of the matter, because we know that there is another nation that's going to rise up where the beast, the image, is going to take seat and reign for 3.5 years. That could not be America. And so therefore we have confused we have jumbled all of prophecy up in one, right? And made it one event, just the plagues, then destruction, and then Israel is free, right? But how does we know that there's this thing called the anti-Messiah, right? The false prophet, the beast, and the dragon that's supposed to reign and is going to deceive the whole world. Well, how would he deceive the whole world if everybody knows about these plagues that's supposed to happen, that's called the wrath of Yah, before his kingdom comes? How does everyone believe that the anti-Messiah or the false prophet is the Messiah and the kingdom established if they don't duplicate the plagues and create a false wrath? Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So I want to show you something here, because people are now with this whole apocalyptic stuff, right? The boils, well, they're not calling it the boils yet, the coronavirus, right? So they're talking about it's the fifth plague, right? The fifth trump, right? So I want to show you that we have the 4 seals, the horsemen. We have the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th seal. And it tells you at the 6th and the 7th seal there are great earthquakes. And you see this, that in Revelation 6, the sun, the black, the moon, the stars, the fig trees are cast, untimely fruit in the wind, man hide in the dens. This is called the wrath of the Lamb at the 6th seal. But that could not be the same as the 7 trumpets. The 1 through the 7th seal could not be the same, even though some of the verses look like they overlap and it's repeating itself, right? It's not the same. This is the image. This is the beast creating a scenario, but it's Yah allowing it. It is a wrath, but this is Yah using the beast to create the wrath, so he can now take the kingdom. And then this is what happens to his kingdom. YHWH comes at the end. This is the world war at the end. This war right here, when he tells the sun is blackened, the moon is blood, the stars fall, the fig cast is entirely, that's about Babylon. That's not about the whole world. This is what people don't understand. This is just going to happen to Babylon, the wrath of the Lamb. It's the punishment for the bond servant, for what the Americans have done to us and what the bloodshed that they created all over the world. After that, America downs, another Babylon comes up. But what took place in Babylon is going to affect the whole world now. So there are going to be plagues that's hitting the whole world because of what took place in Babylon. But the kingdom The false kingdom is set up for 3.5 years during this time, right? So when Babylon goes down, that wrath of the Lamb, that could not be this Babylon. As I showed you in prophecy, that there's two Babylons. There's two Babylons. And so when people read Revelations, it's very confusing to know what is what, and they all jumble it up into one timeline. But it's not that. It's not that at all, right? Because you see here on the fourth trump, you also see 1/3 of the sun and the moon and the stars. You see smitten with darkness, right? And there's 3 more woes. You see the smoke coming out the abyss, you know. So what is going on here? This is a mocking, right? And so I'm saying the coronavirus that we're in, yes, all those that take the mark of the beast is being spread. It said that in that land, that king will prosper, right? And he's going to put a war against the saints. That is the vaccinations, right? And it's been prospering. It's not one event. This thing called the abomination that desolates is not a one event. It's been happening the whole time in Babylon. It's been prospering. It says, and he practiced and he prospered, right? This about sending truth to the ground and defiling the temple. This is the abomination that desolates. It's been some kind of policy or war against your soul that has been practiced the whole time, and it has been prospering. So yes, the coronavirus, the whatever virus, the SARS, the AIDS, the MUFU, the jungle flu, the elephant funk, the bat legs, whatever the mad cows, the chicken coop, whatever you want to call it, it's always named after an animal. It just tells you it's the mark of the beast, right? It's always named after the animals, right? That's going on right now in Babylon. That's going to lead to her destruction, but it's an emulation. It's not Yah's complete wrath. It's Pharaoh's creation. It's not Yah's, right? It's not Yah's, but it is because they have taken the mark of the beast. But after Babylon goes down and everyone that has taken the mark of the beast is destroyed, out of that, we know that the beast, the mark of the beast, whatever that is still standing, because it tells you, I believe it's in Revelation. Now I'm going to go through this. Hold on. I'm going through the Revelations. In Revelations 14, it talks about the 3rd angel, right? And it says, and a second angel follows, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, which has made all the nations to drink up the wine of the wrath of her sexual immorality. I'm telling you that Babylon the great is not the mystery Babylon. Babylon the great has been the greatest Babylon that ever has existed, and that's America. No Babylon has been that long, that great, that large, nor will the one that comes up now that's only going to reign for 3.5 years ever become that great. But the next one is a mystery Babylon. And another angel, which is the 3rd angel, followed them, saying with a great voice, if anyone now worships the beast and his image and receives the mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of the wrath. So I'm showing you once again that there's 2 wraths. After Babylon the great is fallen, there is a warning by this 3rd angel that none of the other nations now should continue to worship the beast. So that's how we know it's not the end. It's not the end, which is prepared unmixed in the cup of his anger. He will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. The smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. They have no rest day and night, those who worship the beast and his image and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the holy ones who keep his commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. So you see, that is our test. That's our test. You either going to take the mark of the beast or you're going to keep the commandments and the faith of Yahushua. It's one or the other, y'all. It's one or the other.
Dr. Leah, can I say something?
Yes.
I apologize. This is Ken. Thank you for yielding the floor. Just to confirm what you're saying here, I don't know how many on the board will probably remember back in 2014 and 2015 when we had the Red Moon Tetrad. and all 4 of them fell on a feast day. All 4 of them back in 2014 and 2015. And most people believe that as soon as you see something like that, all of a sudden something's just supposed to happen right away. But I believe that Yah was just sending a warning to us that something is getting ready to change. It fell on Passover and on Feast of Tabernacles in 2014 and 2015. And then directly after that, there was an eclipse of the sun that has spanned across the United States, going in one direction from the, I believe, from the west to the east. And then there's another one coming up that's going to go in the opposite direction, and basically is making an X across the United States. I believe that was going to show either next year or the year after, which is also a warning that Yah's getting ready to send a sword into Babylon. So I just wanted to, really say, I don't know how many people on the board, like I said, remember that, but that is true, exactly what you're saying.
Well, I remember everything you're saying, but let me just kind of correct you on something. What we call solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, that they are calling the 3 triad blood moons, is not what Yah's talking about here. They mean nothing, and they fell on no holy day. This is the illusion that Satan has created to mimic revelations. It's the mimic of destruction. And so, like I said, what's going down in Babylon is Pharaoh doing it. That is not the true holy days. And so I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna send a clip to show y'all that somebody busted out this whole triad moon thing, to show you that because the holy days that are put on the lunar calendar, and everything is sitting on the 14th of the month, right? If they're going by a lunar calendar, they're doing the 15th. That is destined to fall on what we would call lunar eclipses and solar eclipses. But then I'm going to show you that that happens on a yearly basis. They only picking out the ones they want to show you to make it seem like something, and nothing happened. It's not pointing to anything. That is their like I said, there's a mimicking of Yah's wrath, and so they're feeding you the doctrine that they want you to believe. I'm going to show you how they fed you certain things and cause you to believe certain things so that they can now emulate it. They can create the scenario. They know they're going to destroy Babylon. They're all a part of it, right? To start the New World Order, right? Don't think that they got their plan to leave America and start in a new country, right? And it's Israel, right? So there are, our officials and the powers that be, they're all a part of this plan for Babylon to go down. They have created the scenario, the mock scenario of the wrath of Yah, so that when it happens, y'all think that that is the final wrath of Yah. So when the beast rise up and take the kingdom, then y'all are gonna be confused and be like, well, this must be Messiah. That's right. This must be Messiah, right? This must be the kingdom because he just saved the world from all this wrath. He's gonna have the technology, the vaccines, the science. It might, at this point, it might not even be a vaccine. It might just be a X-ray, like a ray that he just shoots you to walk across the beam and you are healed type stuff now. You know what I'm saying? By the time he comes into power, they're not sticking you with the needle anymore. They just like walk across the beam, you'll be healed, right? Right? So they are mimicking. Y'all are being fed through the Christian gospels. The Christian, what do you call it? End time prophetic Christians. Y'all being fed this. Everybody's going, and even Hebrew Israelites is running with this stuff because they don't want to study Revelations themselves because they don't know it. They're scared to touch it, and they don't want to study the prophecies to go wrong because y'all didn't send them, right? So they don't want to really speak on it. They'll just like when the Christians, right, end time prophetic Christians come up, they'll just take what they're saying, but the Christians are being fed this by the Jews here that has created a book of their feast days for the next 100 years of the moon calendar, all mapped out for the next 100 years, their cycles. And so they can program prophecy how they want to program it on the feast days. So I'll show you a clip of that. I'll send it to the board because I don't want y'all to get deceived by the false prophetical vision. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's talking about the coronavirus. They are creating the illusion of Yah's wrath. That is Pharaoh mimicking Yah's plagues. And he's doing it. It is Yah's wrath, but it's not Yah direct. It's Pharaoh doing it for his cause, right? Did I see another hand? Okay.
Oh, that was me. That was, sorry, that was me a while back. In Deuteronomy 28 at the end part, when it says at the end of the plague that we would be left few in numbers, it just clicked in mind, and I was wondering if that few in numbers is referring to the 144.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the end of the matter. To the left is like at the end. That's what's going to be left. Few in number. We are not few in number. Negroes are still large. We are the fewest of the nations right now in America as far as population, but we're not few in number as we're spread out all over the world. We haven't been left few in number, right? Revelation 7. And after this, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, so that no wind would blow on the earth or on the sea or any tree. And I saw another angel ascend from the sunrise, having the seal of the living Elohai. He cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to harm the earth and the sea, saying, don't harm the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, until I have sealed the bond servants of our Elohim. So we must get sealed. Yah is holding back his true wrath until we get sealed, right? Or not, well, it's his true wrath. He has 2 wraths, but he's holding back this wrath until we get sealed. But we know that's the wrath that's coming on Babylon when we come out of her, right? Because they're trying to get us reborn again into the image of Satan right here. We're not waiting for the next kingdom, Babylon, to rise to get the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is overspreading right here in America. And is, as I showed you in Daniel, that this war against your soul, how long will the temple be polluted, is you, right? That he will give the beast the 2,300, I think I'm saying it wrong, 2,300 days, right? To be polluted. That's not a one-time event. That's what has been practicing against us the whole time. Did I finish? Okay. So he's saying don't harm. So until no harm is going to come until we are sealed. That's what it's waiting for. Revelation 7:1. And after this, did I just said the same thing too? Oh no. Wait, what's going on here? Same thing. Okay. And I heard the number, 3, saying, don't harm the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, until we have sealed the bondservant of Elohim in their foreheads, the 144,000. I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 sealed out of every tribe of Israel. So we know that is it right there. It's waiting on us. It's about us. It's for us. And we are the remnant, the few left in number that's going to come out. And this is our test. This is our test. So I'm in Revelations 9. I'm skipping through Revelations. Once again, if y'all try to wreck your veins and put it all together, y'all gonna go crazy. There's just something I'm trying to pull out of this to show you. I'm in Revelations 9, and it talks about the 5th angel sounded. And the 5th angel is now talking about the 7 trumpets. After the 7 seals, the 7 seals open up 7 trumpets. So we know that the 7 seals could not be the same thing as the 7 trumpets, right? Because it tells you very clearly that the 7th seal opens up the 7th trumpet, 7 trumpets. And so now I'm here in Revelations 9, and we're at the 5th angel, which is the 5th trumpet sounded, right? So the first wrath, Babylon is destroyed, right? That is all destroyed. The remnant must be sealed already, because now we're talking about hurt not the trees or anything until the 144 and sealed. We're at the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th trumpet is the blood, the hail, the mountains, the fire, the sea, the trees, the wormwood on the waters and everything. So we must be sealed already. We must be out of Babylon. The wrath of Babylon is finished. We are sealed. We are hidden in a place. And the 7 trumpets are blowing across the world now. And what it is a backlash of what happened from the first wrath, right? The 5th trump. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star from the sky, which had fallen on the earth. The key to the pit of the abyss was given to him. He opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke went up out of the pit, like the smoke from a burning furnace, right? So I want y'all to remember this, because when Moses created the plague of boils, or brought it into effect, what did he do? He
Threw it up in the air.
He put his hands in the ashes of the furnace and threw it up in the air, right? And the sun and the air was darkened because of the smoke from the pit. So what could we be talking about here? What could we be talking about? What is this abyss? What is the star that fell from the sky? Are we talking about the sun fell from the sky? No, we're not.
Volcano?
We're talking about an eruption, a volcano eruption. And when we talk about sun falling from the sky, we're talking about nuclear radiation, the power of the sun. Not to mention that volcano and earthquakes can rupture all of our nuclear plants. Do y'all know what a nuclear plant is?
Yeah.
Where we get all of our power from is nothing but a man-made star. And so China and Russia and also America and France has also built a man-made sun, hotter than the sun on this earth as well. We don't need the sun to fall, it's right here. All it needs to do is have an eruption, just like Chernobyl. And those plagues will be unleashed, wormwood and all of that, which is radiation, chemical toxins in the air, magnetic flows that go through the water, and pulses that go through the air as well, to create every disease that can be possible, because all of diseases will mutate at that point with radiation. And lack of vitamin D, when there's no sun, those things flourish. They'll flourish in us in the darkness. I see a hand. Clarence?
Yeah, they say that's still going on through Fukushima when
still going on.
the Japan earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still
and
going
they said
on.
I don't know if it was the video you sent, but they was talking about, yeah, it was the video you sent with the guy that was talking about the Spanish plague and stuff happened around winter, and the sun is not out during winter.
Yes. And he was talking about how it was able to flourish because of the lack of vitamin D. So that a lot of people say, get your vitamin D, get your vitamin C, and get your vitamin D, and get your zinc, right? Get your zinc on to help you protect yourself from these diseases, to bring up your immune system, right? I would say this, I don't have a problem with vitamins, right? Do your vitamins, get your vitamins. I tell you that, get your vitamins, go out and get that sun. But it's darkened in the sun for a reason. And then when that nuclear radiation and the poison from the ashes go forward, it's going to create an airborne scenario of diseases out in the air, right? And so we're at the fifth angel. It says the sun, it was darkened because the smoke from the pit. So the sun didn't fall, right? The star that fall wasn't the sun. The sun became darkened because of the smoke that went up from the pit. Then out of the smoke came forth locusts, right, on the earth, and power was given to them as scorpions over the earth have power. They were told that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those people who don't have Elohim's seal in this. What is the relationship? What is this? What is these scorpions and locusts that came out the pit, right? That they should hurt, right? Not no grass, green thing, or tree, only the people, right? So when he talks about hurt not the grass or the green tree, the green or the tree, is he talking about the grass, the greens, and the tree, or is he talking about people?
He's talking about us. He's talking about people.
He's talking about us. He's talking about the sealed ones, right? That these plagues is not going to touch us, right? But only those who don't have Elohim's seal on them. So if they don't have Elohim's seal, they're not protected. They most likely have the seal of the beast, right? The image of the beast. So what is this thing, right? Right? What is this thing? What is these locusts and scorpions? they were given power not to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a person. In those days, people will seek death and will in no way find it. They will desire to die and death will flee for them, right? So does anybody have any idea? What have you heard the Christian evangelists? What has Watchman Report told you to that this plague is, since they're the watchmen of the end time prophecies? What have you been told or heard, or what would you presume this means? Don't be afraid to be wrong, because if you haven't caught on, you probably will be wrong. Anybody? Any guess? Any takers?
I'm just thinking that those scorpions are people of other nations.
Okay. There is some script to say that the scorpions are the Pharisees and the Sadducees, that you'll step on the heads of vipers and snakes. Truly, it's people. That's one. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sister Talia. I was gonna say, I don't know how much of this is true though, but when I was watching Jediah, he said that fallen angel was gonna descend from heaven, and he was gonna like unlock a portal to hell, and then like all the demons and stuff were gonna come out, and that there's gonna be smoke coming out, and it would cover the earth, and the sun would be blocked and all, and that people were gonna be dying, and then after a while people are gonna start to want to die, but y'all's not gonna let them die.
So people are going to be dying, and then after a while, so he's adding to the word because he's actually got it backwards. I know that people watch all the theories about the CERN and the hype, what do you call it, thing, and they open in portals. I believe all of that. Truly, I believe all of that. But I'm saying that some people put the demonic scenario, they put so much emphasis on it that they don't realize the reality of how these things actually function. So they're still in Hollywood, and they really can't really explain what that really looks like on Earth. They just like an angel came up. What does that look like? Explain this, right? Don't just, that's what Revelations is telling me, but what does it mean that a star fell from the sky? What does that look like in reality? This is still parabolic language. So if he's just going to repeat that, he's not saying anything, right? You're still saying angels and demons, but they can manifest. They manifest in different ways. I'm here telling you that the demon is the virus. So he's just gonna say demons are falling out the sky. I'm saying no, they sprayed it, that Moses put it in the sky. He made it airborne, right? So explain that to me. Don't just repeat the words. Jediah doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just talking big things to make it like he got some knowledge. Once again, like I say, he's way above his pay grade. He's beneath his pay grade, right? He's talking high things, and he thinks he's got some knowledge on demonology, but he cannot explain these things in reality, how they manifest in reality. A star is fusion between gases, right? And so when you understand the science of what a star is, when you talk about the far, you got to understand that every nuclear power plant on this earth is a fallen star. It's a star on Earth through fusion. And now they have created suns on the earth. And so I'm going to show you, eventually when I do the revelation, I'm going to show you video. And I might show this, put someone else on this board before the lesson, that they've already created man-made suns on this earth. There was a whole project that was being done the last 3 years that I believe was finished, will be finished this next month, this year, in March, that 50 countries participated in, though they're all going to war. 50 countries participated in bringing the raw materials needed to build this thing. It's not a hydro collider. It's a sun on Earth, and it's hotter than the sun. I believe they built it in France. I got to figure out, or it's in China, one of the two, right? So what they believe that they tapped into is universal, unending source of power, where they don't need to rely. They're trying to override Yah's wrath, but they don't understand, but by doing it, they're creating his wrath. To have a sun on Earth is dangerous. It's not meant to be. To have a star on earth, nuclear power plants, is not meant to be. That was meant to be power and knowledge that remained in heaven. So we know that the angels came down and gave man secrets of heaven that they were not supposed to have, that is going to cause destruction upon us. The only stars that were supposed to be on earth to light up the world is who? Us. Right. So I'm going to show you what all this means. You can talk about an angel all you want, but then explain that, what that looked like, what came, what left, how did it manifested in this physical world of solid liquids and gases, right? So I see another hand. Boy.
Can I read to you what Fitzgerald said?
Go ahead.
Talia?
Uh-huh.
He says, I've heard that people would be transformed into non-humanoids that can't die naturally. I heard this from a pastor from St. Louis, Pastor Darby.
No, I disagree with that. I'm gonna show you what this is, right? What this is, that they're not dying, right? But they're gonna seek death, right? Sometimes we super duper wonderful, make things super duper wonderful, right? And we can't see the reality. So I'm gonna show it because it's gonna explain this down. So no, that's not it. That's not it. I'm saying they have the mark of the beast. They're not humans any longer, right? They're not Ben Adam, but they're not like space aliens looking like R2-D2 now. You know, by the time we become what, the half man and the half thing, we done lost our souls. We're not alive anyway. You're a vegetable. When they trying to do all this biotechnology and mix it together with, what do they call it? Transhumanism. By the time we get to that point, y'all, you are not human anymore. They have tapped into your mind. They have burnt your soul out, and they have recreated a body that can function through the technology and biology, right? Which I'm saying is the mark of the beast in another form, right? This thing is taken upon different forms. So there's different ways to burn your soul out and just create a host body for a demon to come in and take over, right? So we know that demons they don't possess, but they can be harnessed in material things, in a computer, in a skull, in a thing, you know what I'm saying? So we know that these images would speak, eat, talk, and do all of this stuff. It's not that the image is the demon, but a demon is muppeting behind it, you know? And so, yes, through computers and technology, demons also can take hold and possession of a thing. I see another hand.
I used to think like that, Talia, that the statue of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed that the iron mixed with the moderate clay was that human transhumanism.
I'm saying that it's a part of that. It's biology and top technology mixed, right? But they also doing it. So when you talk about vaccines, you got heavy metals in there. They're putting aluminum and other forms of heavy alloys that's poisonous that's all going in our system. The nanotechnology is geared to make you susceptible to the technology as well. So the technology can work on you. So this is why the beast, who I'm saying is Sophia, is an AI, is going to have the power over you as well, right? That she can tap into your mind, into your heart, is electromagnetic. Our minds work just like a computer. She could definitely tap into it. So does our hearts, you know. So where was I? In 3, then out of the smoke came forth locusts out of the earth, and the power was given to them as scorpions over the earth to have power. They were told that they should not hurt the grass or the green thing, neither the tree, but only the people who don't have the Elohim seal on their forehead. They were given power not to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a person. And in those days, people will seek death and will not will no way find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. So I'm skipping to 9, right? Revelations 9. I'm in 7, right? The resemblance of the locusts were like horses prepared for war. On their heads was something like golden crowns, and their faces were like faces of men, and they had hair like women's hair, and their teeth was like those of lions, and they had a breastplate like the breastplate of iron. The sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, or of as many horses rushing to war. They have tails like those of scorpions and sting. In their tails they have power to harm men for 5 months. They have over them a king and the angel of the abyss. And his name in Hebrew is Abaddon. But in the Greek, his name was Apollyon. Now I know, like if y'all was listening to Jedediah, he done went to some deep stuff. It's the son of perdition, it's the son of Satan, it's all of that. He done pull out the angel out the book and did the super duper spiritual. Okay, so the word Abaddon, he says, and his name, this angel, right? This messenger, this spirit that came out of the abyss, his name is in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in the Greek, his name is Apollyon. So you would think that we're talking about a demon. I would say yes, we're talking about a spirit, an angel, a messenger. It doesn't say it's a demon, mind you. Does it? Doesn't say that it's it doesn't tell you that. It says it's an angel, right? Doesn't say that it's Satan either, or the son of Satan, right? But some would say that. You got to look into what the word means, because even in the time of Egypt, what was the destroyer? Was that Satan or was that Yah?
Yah.
That was Yah. The destroyer was Yah. So what was that? And I'm going to show you that that destroyer is the same one here, right? Now, you say Satan or some angel that has the power over that form of a destruction may be working in Satan's side, but he's still getting the instructions from Yah to go forward. It's Yah's power. So this is an angel. So this word Abaddon, right, is the same word that I just showed you. Let me go back. I should that I wanted y'all to remember.
Talking about abad, right?
Abad, yes.
Abad.
Abad. And I forget where I put it. Oh, sorry about this, y'all. Where did I see it? Abad.
That was it right there, huh?
That was it. I lost it.
I think. Yeah, it was right after the caduceus.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it was Deuteronomy 28. In the end, he said, Yahweh will send on the curses. He just got finished mentioning all the plagues of Egypt, right? All those plagues and boils and leprosy and all of that, and tuberculosis and, you know, epilepsy, all this other stuff. And he's going to cause this confusion and pattern, rebuke, and all that you put your hands to do until you and exterminate it, and until you perish quickly. Abaddon, Abodeka. So that word Abaddon, right? Yes, everything, there's an angel or a spirit or a power that Yah has used to do anything on this earth, right? But it means, the word Abad means destruction or to utterly perish, right? So this thing that's going to happen, this thing that comes out of the abyss, it's a plague. It's one of the plagues that creates this Abadeka, your utter perishing and your utter destruction. Abaddon, right? That they named it Apollyon, and they put a demon or a L or a power behind it, right? Because of your evil doings, by which you have forsaken me, Yahweh will make these pestilence, these thorns, these plagues, this word cling to you until he has consumed you off of the land where you go to possess it. So what consumes land? We're talking about consuming you off of the land, this plague, this Abaddon, right? So let's go forward. Okay, where was I? So this thing that's coming out that looks like a grasshopper, it's a locust, and it has the power of a scorpion, and it torments, and obviously it eats grass and green and trees, but it's going to be everyone that doesn't have the mark of Yah. They're going to have the mark of the beast. So and it came out the abyss, and it has crowns of gold and faces and hair like women, and breastplates and iron and sounds of chariot and horses that rush into war, and tails and scorpion stings. And it came out the abyss, and the angels, and his name was Abaddon, which means destruction or utter perishing. But in the Greek, it has the name Apollyon. This is the first woe is past. Behold, there's still 2 more woes coming after this. So, can anybody tell me what you think it is? Like, come on, let's play the guessing game. This is fun.
Radiation.
Is that a flesh-eating virus?
A who?
The flesh-eating virus?
It's a flesh-eating virus. You cheating.
Is it radiation?
You're supposed to go to the far imagination first.
Doesn't radiation your flesh?
So this is what the Christians have told us, right? They're giving us this kind of image, right? Now, like, what the heck is that, right? That looked like one of the Goetia demons of the 70 Goetia demons, right? Definitely look like one of them. Y'all like these pictures? So what is it then? You know, when the Christians give us this, right? This is what they tell us what it is. But they have their interpretation, and I would say that they're right. They wrong. They wrong, but they're not completely wrong. They're wrong about what this one is, right? Because they're reading into something. They just don't know how to read. Or they do know how to read, they just will still lie to you, right? So these are the images that they have drawn for us of what this thing could be, right? So this is what I want to show you, though. That was the 5th. I'm going to explain. The Bible's going to interpret what the 5th is.
Mr. Tzibiyah.
Uh-huh. Yes.
When we were in Christianity, they explained that those were helicopters with the faces of men. Like you could see the men in the cockpit of the helicopter, and then the tail went back like a scorpion. Right. And the propellers and the blades sound like the horses.
I got you, right? Okay,
so it was like a war. It was like a war.
I got you. Sounds good. Sounds good. Wait a minute. Hold up. I got you, right? So I want to read this again. This is the 5th trumpet. This is the 5th vial. But now we got a 6th one, right? So that's the image that they would give you. But I know what you're talking about. I'm going to show you that. But we got a 6th one. Is the 5th and the 6th the same? So now if you was to take the rules of how we usually interpret the Bible, I'm saying that it's not. How we usually interpret the Bible, I say the interpretation is usually right there. But this is not so. Not in this case. This is not giving you the interpretation of 5. 5 is one thing, 6 is another, but you're going to hear the terminology sound similar. So I'm going to explain it. And I'm going to show that the Bible tells you what the 5th one is. And it tells you what the 6th one is. They're not the same, but look at the language. One would assume that it's that the 6th trumpet is explaining what the 5th is. No, it's not. You just have to understand the parabolic language. So the 6th angel sounded. So this is a whole new angel. It's not the same play, right? I heard a voice from the horns of the golden altar, which is before Elohim, saying, the 6th angel who had 1 trumpet, free the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. The 4 angels were freed who had been prepared for that hour and day and month and year, so that they might kill 1/3 of mankind. That's not the 5th plague. This one, whatever this is going to kill 1/3 of mankind. But the sixth plague does not kill anybody. It just torments them for 5 months. So it can't be the same, right? That's number 1. The number of the armies, this is the army that they're trying to say is the locust, but watch. The number of the armies of the cavalry of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. Thus I saw the horses in the vision. So it's an army, you got horses, right? That looks the same. And those that sat on them having breastplates, they had breastplates of fiery red, hyacinth blue, and sulfur brimstone yellow, right? And the heads of lions. So they had heads, and they had heads of lion. Out of their mouths proceeded fire, smoke, and sulfur. And that's the image that you would get through the cartoons. I'm just giving y'all the cartoons if you used to draw that, right? So that's the image that you would get, the 4 winds, the iron, right? That's the image of that. That's not the same as the 6th. The 5th and the 6th are not the same. So they're jumbling it up together. This is what you're describing, but they keep saying that it's the 5th, but it's really the 6th, right? That's that, right? That's what they're saying it is. The helicopters, and I'm saying I'm not saying that it's not a helicopter, that is not, or it is, right? What I'm saying is that what this is describing is nuclear power through bombs and lasers, right? And so whether they do that with an airplane, or whether they do that through a missile flying through the air or rays, this is for the last battle. This is at the sixth trump, right before the last battle at the end, when we're in the wilderness, when all the nations come up against us. That's why it's 200 million, right? So that is an actual battle, is telling you their power, right? Which is still radiation. It's still toxic, it's still poisonous, and that's what they're coming up against us with in the wilderness. Whether it's an actual helicopter, I can't say that. You know, I'm not saying that it's a helicopter, not nice guess, but it is an actual army. An actual army. But the fifth is not.
Talia.
Yes.
Talia. So I'm looking at that, and you know, I've heard the same thing with the helicopters, but it just made me think of, you know, the injections, you know, sources. You know how they tranquilize like elephants and big animals on safari? They fly around in a helicopter and shoot them down. You know, would it be far-fetched to say that, you know, there's a...
No, this is the actual war.
Would it be far-fetched to...
No, this is the actual
Right, but would it
war.
be far-fetched for it to say...
Oh,
would it be far-fetched to say that they're shooting us with, you know, not necessarily tranquilizers, but hitting those of us on the earth with some sort of
no,
like, you know, like dart gun?
No, this is fire and brimstone. This is the wrath of Yah.
Not from the helicopters?
No, this is the bomb. This is a bomb. This is some kind of super bomb. When we're talking about Hassaneth blue and fiery red, they done transmitted this power, this nuclear power, through some kind of super weaponry of a laser beam. No, this is the final plague of Yah that he gave them. They're trying to destroy Messiah's coming. We're in the wilderness being protected by the cloud, the angel, and Yah's angels are coming. This war is also against mankind, but this is the war that's also going to come up to us when they're done, right? This is the one that's going to explode on them when they shoot that stuff at us, and it's going to become a reciprocating hand grenade, a bomb. So this is nuclear, this is atomic, this is hydrogen, this is more than I can tell you, because I'm telling you by the time they do this, they already have the technology for what this is, but they have upped the ante. This is more than atomic. This is something else. They have taken some knowledge of some stones and transmitted the power to some kind of super ray, right? That's all.
Talia, can I say something?
Yes.
Okay. So a few years ago, I actually watched a video. It was called The Day After Trinity. And one of the things that America developed was called a hydrogen bomb.
The hydrogen.
A hydrogen bomb.
Yes.
So that's supposed to be hydrogen bomb. Yeah, it's supposed to be one of the deadliest bombs that they actually have out there.
Yeah, the hydrogen bomb is because they split I think a water atom in half, or is that the atomic bomb? They're just like totally like messing with life.
That's the atomic bomb.
That's the atomic bomb, right? Okay. Now I believe that this is more than that. I think this is a combination of probably all three powers and some other force. Why do I say that? I'm gonna tell y'all a little story, and I'm gonna pause because I don't want this story online. Did I pause? Nope. Resume share. Hold on. Okay, I have resumed. We're back. We're back to the fifth and sixth plague. So you see a similarity in the wording between the fifth and the sixth, but it's clearly telling you something different, right? And so that's the imagery through the cartoons of the fifth plague. And this is the imagery of the sixth, right? This is what they're interpreting it for us, right? Let's continue reading. By these three plagues were 1/3 of mankind killed by the fire, the smoke, and the sulfur which proceeded out of their mouths. So what I'm saying again, that this is some kind of nuclear, atomic, hydrogen beam bomb that is being thrown at us, but it's going to backfire. It's not going to kill us, right? For the power of the horses is in their mouths and in their tails, for their tails are like serpents and have heads, and with them they harmed. The rest of mankind were not killed with these plagues. They didn't repent of the works of their hand, that they would worship demons and the idols of gold and of silver and brass and of stone and of wood, which can neither see nor hear nor walk. They didn't repent of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their sexual immorality, nor of their thieves, right? So after this goes forth, there's still wickedness across the world. The seven, Messiah still has to come and bring his judgment on the whole world. The seven thunders open up, and he still has to conquer all the nations once he destroys their army. So now I'm in Revelation 15. So let's see the interpretation. I'm in 1. And I heard a loud voice out of the temple saying, the 7 angels go and pour out the 7 bowls of the wrath of Elohim on the earth. So the 7 bowls of the wrath is the same thing as the 7 vials, as the 7 trumps. The first went out and poured out his bowl into the earth, and it became harmful, an evil, loathsome, rotten, bad, festering sore, also a wound, and grievous on the people who had the mark of the beast and who worship and prostrate the image of it. Now, it's telling you right here that the first one, the first trumpet, which is right after the second earthquake, 1/3 of trees and the tree, 1/3 of the trees and the grass are destroyed. So obviously the 144 sealed. This is a loosing of the 4 angels. Hurt not until they are sealed, right? This is after the 7th seal and earthquake. The first trump is the first bowl. And so what happens here is fire and hail and blood, right? But the first vial is telling you that it's a sore that breaks out as well. So when you have an earthquake, you also have nuclear radiation. When you have war, you have a nuclear fallout and radiation and poison as well. That's going to surface on the earth, and it's going to spread out in the waters or through the air or through the ground. And so these things, this kind of radiation, like I said, can create a reaction of certain viral and fungi and mold and diseases that may be in your system to mutate inside of you and break out, meaning that your body now totally rejects it. Your body rejects it, and it creates a breakout. So it's telling you that the first one is a boil, in essence, is a breaking out of sores, right? Of everyone who had the mark of the beast, right? Who had the mark of the beast. So that's the first one, but we talk about the 5th one. So we're seeing that this is going to happen twice. Happen twice. The second angel poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became blood as of a dead man. Every living thing in the sea died. The third poured out his bowl in the rivers and the springs of the waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the water say, you are righteous, who are and who were you, Holy One, because you have judged these things. For they poured out the blood of the saints and the prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. They deserve it. I've heard the altar saying, yes, Yahweh Elohim, the almighty, true, and righteous are your judgments. The 4th, I'm trying to go through the 4th to get to the 5th. So we saw the first one was an outbreak of boils, basically. The 4th poured out his bowl on the sun, and it was given to him to scorch men with fire. People were scorched with great heat, and people blasphemed the name of Elohim, who had the power over these plagues. They didn't repent and give him glory. So some would say that was that's the 4th trump, where it says, smitten was darkness and eagle flying, and 1/3 of the sun and the moon and the stars were struck. But I'm also saying that the sun is the power of the radiation. It's not that the sun now is burning brighter. I'm saying that it's the power of radiation, right? That's what scorches men, radiation from the sun, right? The 5th poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and his kingdom was darkened. So now we got darkness in the 5th, just like it says, and there was smoke, and the sun was dark because of the smoke that came up. They gnawed their tongues because of the pain, and they blasphemed Elohim of heaven because of their pains and their sores. They didn't repent of their works, right? So in the 6th one poured out the bowl on the great river Euphrates, its waters was dried up, and the way might be prepared for the kings to come from the sunrise. So that's the 6th one This is a war of the kings of the earth coming up. And I saw out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet 3 unclean spirits, something like frogs, for they are spirits of demons performing signs, which go forth to the kings of the whole inhabited earth to gather them together for the war of the great day of Elohim the Almighty. Behold, I come like a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his clothes so that he doesn't walk naked and that they see the shame. He gathered them together in the place which is called in Hebrew Armageddon. So we know that's the last war. So I'm going to go back. That is the 6th trumpet, right? That is what he's describing as the 6th trumpet. And the 6th angel sounded, I heard the voice, thirds of the golden altar, saying the 6th angel with 1 trumpet, freed for the angels of the great from the Euphrates. I'm going on. 1/3 of mankind is destroyed. And it's, you know, so we get that imagery. But the 6th one, the 5th one, I still want to go back to the 5th one. It already just told you that it's boils. It's a sore. So the first plague and the 5th one is a breakout of boils. I'm saying it's the same breakout, but it's a breakout one on the how do I say, the common people, those that have the mark of the beast, the servants, the ones that bow down to the mark of the beast. By the time we get to the 5th plague, this is the one breaking out on those that's on the seat of the beast. So I'm saying that those that are of the beast, they have taken the vaccinations too, but I'm saying that they're not giving you the same vaccinations as they've given us. I mean, giving themselves the same vaccinations as they've given us. I believe that they have created vaccinations that they believe is going to overcome these plagues for them, but it's going to backfire. It's not, by the time this radiation pours out like this, it's going to mutate and it's going to backfire on them, right? So the resemblance of locusts, I'm going to read this again. The resemblance of the locusts were like horses prepared for war on the heads of those were something like golden crowns, remember that, and their faces were like faces of men. They had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like those of a lion. They had breastplates and breastplates of iron. So we talk about a golden crown. Where does a crown sit? On the head. So the head has faces, and the face of a man is like round, right? I'm gonna get to what all this means. Golden crown. I'm trying not to give you the secret right away, right? If I say too much, I'm gonna be like, oh, I get it. Right? Golden crown, and they have faces like faces of men, right? So they had round, they were round faces of men, and they had breastplates. What's breastplates for? A breastplate of iron. What's that for?
Armor, protection.
It's the armor, it's protection. So whatever this is, it was resistant. Whatever this is had.
Talia, I just wanted to say something that if you ever sit there and take a look at a virus, they kind of resemble certain things that you know, that's in this world. Like they have hairs, they can sting you, they can, you know, they can do that. They got this anime I watched on was cartoon on Netflix called Cells at Work. It's about the body, and they explain to you, but it's in a form of a Japanese cartoon. But the way they got the viruses, they got them as creatures, as villains.
Yep.
And they explain to you, and there's a capsule on one of these bacteriums that can form a protective around it so it can't get hurt.
That's
and
right.
by you saying breastplate,
Yep.
I mean that's
it's a defense system. It has its own defense system of iron. It means you can't kill it, right? You can't kill it. This is the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, right? So that's a little weird, right? What does that sound like if we're talking about disease, boiling over on your back? I don't know if anybody know that boils actually make sounds when they pop. And if they spread like crazy, it'll sound like boiling toxic waste on your back. I don't even know if y'all have heard it. I decided not to put no videos of the boils in here. Y'all can go look that up on yourself. But I've seen some, y'all, and the horses rushing like war. That means they spread out real quick. They spread real quick. They have tail. I'm trying to give you they have tails like scorpions and stings. So what do we got stung by? that created the boils and also this disease from the serpent. You
That
know,
needle?
it's poison, it's toxic, is toxic. And they tell they have power to harm men for 5 months. So whatever it is not killing them. It's an outbreak, but it's a side effect of something, right? They have over them a king, and the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, destruction. So this is everyone that has the mark of the beast. This is so these are so I'm telling you what it is, and the scripture has just told you what it is. As far as the fifth one is concerned, it's the plague. Where was I? It's the plague. Did I read 15? No. Where did I get to? It's the plague of leprosy. I felt like I did skip something. So the first one was also the plague, boils breaking out, and so was the fifth one. Sorry. Here we are. Where am I?
Talia, can I say something?
Yes, the fifth one. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Kenneth again. Let me ask you a question because of what we're taught here in Christianity. Those that receive the microchip, I know they say, but I'm asking you at the same time. They say that microchip that is placed in the right hand between your thumb and your first index finger, that it has lithium battery in it, and when that lithium battery implodes in your skin and gets in your blood, it causes that boil also. It causes like cancer inside your blood and that boil. Is that true?
I don't know about that particular.
Is that one of the mean on those who have taken it?
So so that's you presuming that I believe the chip is the mark of the beast, right? So I need to dispel that.
No, I'm just saying part of it. No,
Yes,
part of
part
it.
of it.
I'm not saying that is completely.
No, I got it. That is presuming that the chip, the RDIF, is the mark of the beast. I'm saying that is not necessarily the mark of the beast. That's just a tool that they're using that you now can be a part of the system, right? That is not what they're checking for. Yes, everyone must have the mark of the beast in order to be included in the new world order, right? But that doesn't necessarily have to be a chip, which I'm telling you that they're already programmed. We don't need a chip. Everything, first of all, in this whole society has a chip in it, everything. And we already, the chips are put in your vaccines, in your medications. This has already been proven. The electromagnetic nanotechnology is a chip in itself that is in the air. It's in the food. You know, all of they have different ways of making you by a technologically compatible for the AI that she can tap into you. What she is reading that you must have the mark of the beast is a DNA change. I believe that certain men in higher powers will probably have some kind of chip to have more access to the financial load or whatever like that. But the chip, at the end of the day, all of y'all are looking towards that, and y'all gonna miss the mark. That is not the mark of the beast. That is a tool that they will use to, and I don't believe it's necessarily the chip. I believe it's the Bitcoin. It's the Bitcoin.
So when John says, in the right hand or forehead, that has nothing to do with that. Is that what you're saying?
No, because we're supposed to be sealed in our right hand and our forehead too, with the covenant. What does that look like? That's to put the word in your heart and your mind. So I'm going to show you what that means when you take on the mark of the beast in your right hand and in your forehead. It means your mind. So they have a vaccine. I sent it on the board. I'll send it again. And they put it in the flu vaccine. And
we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the BMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market, blowing up the bomb.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people that they have overexpression of the BMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So if somebody asked me to design a vaccine for religious fundamentalism or fanaticism, basically what I would do is to try to better understand why people are fanatical. Why do they have extreme behavior? It's pretty clear these days that all behavior results from activity of our own brains, and so there must be pathways that are important in generating this kind of behavior.
What is it you'd most like to know about the world? But if you could know one thing about the future in the world, what would it be?
How in the world somebody resolved the religious anger. Somebody figure out a way so that people with serious religious convictions didn't think it made sense to go kill somebody else because they had different convictions.
Amen, if that's not a religious conviction. Thank you. All right.
To have the mark in your mind is to want this worship, is to have a mind that's now, how do I say, polluted with serving her. Like your mind is taken over by her now. She will have access to your mind, and she does. These AIs, they do. They're doing it now. What they call it? What do you call it? Do the I say Manchurian candidates, but this all of the terminology I'm losing. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? All the mind control,
Third eye.
they're doing now. All the mind control that they're doing now. How they tapping in your minds like that, right? So it's to serve him with all your heart and your mind and with all your might. And so Yah says, serve, so you should put these and bind them as a sign between your eyes and on your hand. What is that? To do them with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your might. Meaning to do them physically, to do it out, not just believe it, to think it and to do it. So when you serve the beast, to have her marked is to bow down to her, to serve her with all your heart, with all your mind and your soul. Can that take on a physical sign? Yes. Can it be a chip? Yes, it can. Is everybody going to have the chip? And that's no. I'm saying that it's not just a chip. She's tapped in different kinds of ways to catch you, your heart, and your mind, and your actions.
At what point will they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At what point will they like trigger these things inside of us? Being that a lot of us have actually taken the vaccines before.
They trigger it
At
now.
what point yes, they're doing it now. Okay, so okay, all right. That was it.
That's why it's a rush to return to the covenant and get this Holy Spirit, because it's the only thing that's gonna burn it out. It may not, it's not triggered in all of us yet. It's in there. We've all been hit. It's in there. We got a boil, right? We got it. But the Holy Spirit is the only thing that can burn it out. The whole seed of Yahushua HaMashiach can burn that serpent out of your DNA by the Holy Spirit. That's why it says only by the kingdom of heaven. You must be born again because our blood is defiled. We got to return to the covenant. So he says the fifth bowl was poured out on the throne of the beast, and his kingdom was darkened. They gnawed their tongues because of the pain, and they blasphemed Elohim of heaven because their pains and their sores. They didn't repent. So we can see that it was the plague of boils again. Leprosy. That's all it was. Stuck on 16 here. So we can see that the fifth plague is a disease. The fourth one is an actual army. Is an actual army coming to destroy. I read that already. All right, so I'm in 2 Chronicles. Now I'm taking you back again. I'm gonna melt this. I'm gonna show you more proof. So this terminology, even though it just told you in Revelations that it's a plague, it's a sore, it's boils. It's boils. That's what they're gonna break out with, right? Just like the magicians and the seat of Pharaoh before, they broke out with the boils. because they were messing with all that medicine. They were doing things to themselves to give them powers and superpowers and to overcome diseases and stuff. And it triggered on them. It triggered on them when he threw it up as dust from a furnace and became airborne. So in 2 Chronicles, Uzziah, the pride, leprosy, and death, 16. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up so that he did corruptly, and he trespassed against Yahweh his Elohim, for he went into the temple of Yahweh to burn incense on the altar of incense. So I want to show you this thing about the incense. When the priests went in and the false ones, Kohath, went in, they got burnt up with fire in the earthquake. It swallowed them up, and the earth, fire, some strong fire from Yah came and burnt them up. Moses threw up the incense, the ash from that furnace. He threw it up. It became airborne, and boils broke out. And so you see the same thing, that the ash from the abyss coming up out the middle of the earth, right? That comes up as smoke from a furnace, creates this situation that boils break out on the kingdom as well. And you see also a replication of this when Uzziah, he goes in and he wants to do he wants to burn incense at the altar. Azariah the priest went in after him, with him 80 priests of Yahweh who were valiant men, and they resisted Uzziah the king and said to him, "It isn't for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to Yahweh, but for the priests, to the sons of Aaron who consecrated to burn the incense. Go out of the sanctuary, for you have trespassed. Neither shall it be for your honor from Yahweh Elohim." So many people think they worshiping Yah, doing things they're not called to do above their pay grade. They're cursing themselves as well, right? They're all people doing things that Yah did not call them to do. They also in trouble, think they're being pious and straight with Yah. No, they're not. No, they're not. People need to know their place. It's dangerous to step above, to step close to the king, and he didn't call you, right? That's instant death sometimes, right? Who is consecrated, go out of the sanctuary, for you have trespassed, neither shall it be for you, for your honor, for Yahweh Elohim. Then Uzziah was angry, and he had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was angry with the priest, the leprosy broke forth in his forehead for the priest in the house of Yahweh besides the altar of incense. Azariah, the chief priest, and all the priests looked on him, and behold, he was a leprous in his forehead. And they thrust him out quickly from their eyes. Yes, himself hurried also to get out, because Yahweh has struck him. Uzziah the king was a leper to the days of his death, and lived in a separate house, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of Yahweh. And Jotham, his son, was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. So I just want to show you the connection, because even when they was burning the incense to the altar, that was the power and the fire of Yah. I'm telling you, that's radiation too. I'm saying that Yah's radiation. All of that is the power of Yah that they're messing with. So they harnessed it, some of it, but it's going to break forth on you if you step out of Yah's perfect will, his calling, or his commandments. But his heart was darkened as well, so something changed. Go ahead.
So in Christianity, as I'm listening, you promoted, share your faith, do this, do that, and do the other, because you're a light to the world. And so when I'm listening to this, it seems like, you really should be sitting down until you clearly know exactly what it is that God wants you to be doing. Because I guess the other question I have is just that it seems like, you're going to give an account for your life. And, when you're looking at this, you just want to make sure not only are you doing, the commandments, but are you supposed to be, if you understand what I'm saying, are you supposed to be doing something else besides that?
Yes. Seeking, asking, and knocking. Go inside your heart, dig, do Job. Do Job.
Okay.
Yeah, and let him show, because he will if you keep asking and knocking and begging. But he's going to show you the dirt on your face and how to clean it up and how to get his spirit to help come and burn it out. The problem is that some of us keep asking and knocking and searching, and when we find it, we don't like it, and we fall off. We don't want to see no more dirt on our face. We don't want to hear no more. It gets too hard. Like I said, many people fall off. Some people want to feel the warmth of Yah. They don't want to feel the heat of Yah. They want the warmth of Yah, right? They want to feel the comforting spirit of the Holy Spirit, but it doesn't always comfort. It's a comforter, true indeed, but it's a burning fire. It's a refiner's fire, and it's there to purge out every evil conscience that you may have. So it's still working on you. It's still burning. It's still hurting. It's still piercing. You know, it's comforting after you get healed, but that's not the healing process. You know, doesn't feel good when the doctors are messing with you. You know, neither did the Holy Spirit. So yes, no, we are supposed to be doing something. There is a physical and a mental, a spiritual and the physical preparation. The physical manifests as you continue to search Yah and you do the work inside your heart. He'll open up the door and show you what to physically do. As you do the work inside, you take the step towards him and he'll open the door for you to see how to walk forward. You know, and so yeah. It's all about repentance, but then you hear the word repentance, but then you don't get no instruction on what we're supposed to be repenting for exactly, right? So you, like I said, you get these surface teachings. This might sound like a surface teaching to some people. I'm not telling you here what to repent for here, but all my teachings do go into detail, and we're going to continue to go into detail what you're supposed to be repenting for. As we go through the law, it's going to be clear what we're supposed to be repenting for. Not just feel good, love Yah, feel bad, and repent. Of what? And how does that look? What does that look like when you come to repentance, you know? And so, like I said, you get these wonderful Christian, even Hebrew Israelites. You take a great lesson in it. What can you do with it? Has it really changed your heart and your mind and given you some clarity and understanding how to move differently from the day that you heard it? I say not. They just feel good. That was a good message, y'all. Wow. You really, I feel inspired. I got a little faith today. About what? So I think I'm coming down to it. Let me finish up here. So afterwards, when David heard it, he said, this is another scripture. Oh, I missed the scripture. Can anybody help me? I think this is in 2 Samuel somewhere. Help. Oh, goodness. All right. After, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before Yahweh, forever of the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. I don't know if you all guys know the story. I don't want to tell the whole story, but I just want to show you how the curse of leprosy was put on somebody for having a wicked heart and doing treachery. So this was, Abner was a servant of David that one of David's servants wound up killing, and David let him go. He didn't want him to be killed, but one of David's servants wound up going to kill him ahead of David, but it was really for vengeance. It wasn't on behalf of David, like he said. It was really for his own vengeance. So it says, let it fall on the head of Joab. And so we're not supposed to take vengeance. That's against the law of Yah. Not like that. And he overturned the king's judgment. So David came back, and when he found out that he killed the servant Abner that he had let go, Joab and all of his father's house, let there not fail from the house of Joab one who has an issue or a discharge or a flow, or who is a leper, or who leans on a staff, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, killed Abner because he had killed their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. What is leprosy? So I'm not going to go too deep, and I decided not even to put any pictures of cyst, abscess. Actually, we have another reading: cyst, abscess, boils. What's the other word? It's another word. All of this stuff, breakouts. It's, you know, rashes, not so much. It depends, but the measles, the mumps, the lesions, all of this stuff is a form of leprosy. A cancer, whether it be in the lungs or inside one of the organs, anything that's forming a tumor or anything, ulcers within the body, or a breakout outside. This is all a form of leprosy, one way or another. And it's a tissue eating disease. But you will find something very synonymous with an airborne lung disease, right, as well with these diseases. So leprosy is a slowly developing progressive disease that damages the skin and nervous system. What is leprosy? So when we talk about the snake, the venoms does the same thing. It attacks the nervous system and the skin, right? And also it attacks the heart, the lungs, the liver, and all of that as well. Leprosy is the disease mainly caused by the bacteria Mycobacterium leprae, which causes damage to the skin and the peripheral nervous system. This disease develops slowly from 6 months to 40 years and results in skin lesions and deformities, most often affected the cooler places of the body, for example, the eyes, the nose, earlobes, hands, feet, and testicles. The skin lesions and deformities can be very disfiguring and are the reason that historically people considered infected individuals outcast in many cultures. Although human-to-human transmission is primary source of infection, 3 other species can carry and rarely transfer I. leprae to humans: chimpanzees, mangabe monkeys, and 9-banded armadillos. The disease is termed a chronic granulomatous disease, similar to tuberculosis. So tuberculosis is an infection in the lungs and is spread through breathing. You can catch tuberculosis through breathing on each other, right? So he's saying that leprosy works very similar to the way tuberculosis does, because it produces inflammatory nodules, granulomas in the skin and peripheral nerves over time. So I'm going to read the laws. So I'm going to go back again. We just got finished reading. I want to show you this language again, right? Because like I said, there's nothing in the New Testament that you can't find in the Old, but they're speaking in mystery. They're speaking in parabolic terms, right? So people been reading this for years, like, what the heck is that? What is that? And this is the image that you got, right? Once again, this is the image, right? So I want to read it one more time, and then we're going to read leprosy, right? So the 5th angel, and the sun was darkened because of the smoke that came out forth locusts on the earth, and the power was given to them. So what does locust do, y'all? What does locust eat?
Greenery.
Greenery.
They destroy.
But that's what greenery is. It's protein.
Protein.
Protein. It's just protein. It's grass and herbs. Hurt not the trees and the herbs and the grass until it is sealed, right? Right? And so that's what they do. They eat protein. Protein is skin. It's your flesh. They eat flesh. Now, those locusts eat green protein, but these locusts eat our protein. What could that be, right? So these locusts, they have the power to give, and they're scorpions, right? So they're poisonous. And they should not hurt the grass or the earth or the green of the tree, but only the people that don't have this Elohim seal on their forehead. So they're not sealed with the Holy Spirit. They're susceptible to something, right? They are given the power not to kill. So this is not a deadly disease, right? This is an outbreak, but to torment them for 5 months, the torments are like the torments of scorpions. So that means it's a burning acid. It's something that's burning and eating away the skin, and it hurts. And those people, they will seek death. This is why they're seeking death, because it's not something that's going to kill them, but it's going to be a serious outbreak that's going to spread all over their bodies, just like on the seat of Pharaoh. It didn't kill the magicians. It didn't kill them, right? Leprosy doesn't necessarily kill you off the bat like that. You can live with leprosy a long time, but you're suffering because your flesh is being eaten. When it strikes a person, in those days, people will seek death, and they will have no way to find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. The resemblance of the locust was like horses prepared for war. That means that they spread out. It was many lesions. And because we're talking about lesions, right? So when you talk about a lesion, right, that lesions break out all on the body, it means like a rash of bumps. But that's what a lesion is like a horse or a cavalry of an army. Lesions, right? They have golden crowns in their face. They have faces like men. They got hair like women, and they got teeth, right? So lions eat flesh, right? Like lions, and they have a breastplate. So they have a defense system. There's no vaccine. There's no vaccine for it. There's nothing that can kill this thing. The sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots as many horses rushing to war. I'm saying that you're going to hear these boils break out. that they're popping all over their bodies, and it sounds like steam almost coming out of a I don't know if y'all have ever seen this before, but I've sometimes when boils pop and all that stuff rushes out and gushes out, it has a sound. I don't want to just, it has a sound to it. So imagine the whole body breaking out all at once like that, just popping and lesions and stuff all over you, right? And they're rushing like many horses that's rushing the war, and they have tails like of scorpions and sting, and their tails have the power to harm them for 5 months. And they had a king of the abyss, right? So it already told you that it was sores. Now, where's this language coming from? Let's see. Leprosy, the laws of leprosy. Leviticus 13, chapter 1. Yahweh spoke to Moshe to Aaron, saying, when a man, Adam, shall have a rising in his body's skin, or a scab, a lesion, or eruption, but that word also in Hebrew means psoriasis, right? Or a bright spot or a mole, right? And it becomes in the skin of his body the plague or a sore or a mark or a wound of leprosy, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest or to one of his sons and the priest shall examine the plague, the sore in the skin of the body. And if the hair in the plague has turned white, so then we got the hair, right? We're talking about a rising spot. We're talking about a lump, a mound on skin. That's like a head. What do y'all call it? When y'all have big lesions of boil, it's a head. It's come to a head. What color is it, right? So we're going to get to it. So it says, and if the hair that is in there turns white, the appearance of the plague is deeper than the body skin. That is the plague of leprosy. And the priest shall examine him and pronounce him unclean. If the bright spot is white in the skin of his body and its appearance isn't deeper than the skin and its hair hasn't turned white, then the priest shall isolate the infected person for 7 days, quarantine. The priest shall examine him on the 7th day, and behold, if in his eyes the plague is standing, the plague hasn't spread in the skin, and the priest shall isolate him for it. So he still has the boil or the lump or the sore, the breakout, but it hasn't spread, but it's still there after 7 days. The priest shall examine him again on the 7th day, and behold, if the plague has faded and the plague hasn't spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is a scab. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. So we're taught. So that at this point, this could just be, in a sense, a rash, or this could be, in a sense, a pimple, or it's not a boil. It's not an abscess. It's not that. But there's other forms of outbreaks that you can have that it's not leprosy, it's not a cyst, it's not a tumor, it's not a boil, it's not an abscess, right? So that's how you know, right? Because a pimple can be considered by definition a boil, but it's not actually. So Yah is distinguishing a difference in outbreaks or in rashes. Then the priest shall examine him, and behold, if the leprosy has covered all of his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean of the plague, and it all turned white. So that's vitiligo. Am I saying that right? The one when, like Michael Jackson said, he turned all white. That's the clean leper, right? So that's right. So that's another kind. Then he shall be pronounced a clean leper, right? But whenever raw flesh appears in him, he shall be unclean. The priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. The raw flesh is unclean, it is leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turns again and is changed to white, then he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him, and behold, if the plague has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean of the plague, he is clean. So we know that happened to the story of Gehazi, that he became a clean leper. It was in all his generations. It was genetic now, but he was clean. And so a lot of people believe that this is the genetic marker that entered into the Japhetic race that created the blonde hair, blue eyes. I'm not totally against that, but that is not what created what we would call the European man necessarily. 18, and when the flesh has a boil in its skin, and it has healed, and in the place of the boil there is a white rising or a bright spot or reddish, then it shall be shown to the priest, and the priest shall examine it. And behold, if the appearance is lower than the skin, and its hair has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. If the plague or sore of leprosy, it has broken out in the boil, but if the priest examines it and behold, there are no white hairs in it, and it is deeper than the skin, but is dim, then the priest shall isolate him 7 days. If it spreads in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. But if the bright spot underneath it stands in its place and hasn't spread, it is a scar from a boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. 24, or when the body or the flesh has a burned from the fire of the skin, so that it's like burning the skin, the raw flesh eating it away, consuming it. The raw flesh of the burn becomes a bright spot, reddish white or white. Then the priest shall examine it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot has turned white, and its appearance is deeper than the skin, it is leprosy. It has broken out in the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. And I'm telling you that these are different kinds of leprosies. All of these diseases, the tuberculosis, the AIDS, the HIV, the scars, the SARS, the this, the flu, the chickenpox, all of that, lesions, all of that is breaking out. This is describing all of that. Herpes B, 1, 2, 3, on the lip, on the under, whatever it is, right? All of us in some way have had one of these things one time or another. One time or another. Why? Because they put it in us with the vaccines, right? So it may not be outbroken right now, but it's still there. And once again, the only thing that can completely clean it out your system is the Holy Spirit. It is broken out of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. But if the priest examines it, and behold, there is no white hair in the bright spot, and it is lower than the skin, but is faded, then the priest shall isolate him 7 days. The priest shall examine him on the 7th day. If it has spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. If the bright spot stays in its place and hasn't spread in the skin, but is faded, it is the swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a scar from the burn. 29, when a man or a woman has a plague on the head or the beard, then the priest shall examine the plague, and behold, if it appears in standing from the skin, so like it's rised above the skin, the hair of it is golden yellow or thin, right? So that's the same word. The word is gold, just like it said, and it had a head and a crown of gold on it. And the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a scaly itch. The word it says itch in English, but the word in Hebrew also means scaly, right? So a scaly itch. It is leprosy of the head or of the beard. If the priest examines the scaly, itchy plague sore, and behold, its appearance isn't deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall isolate him, that person infected with itching 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the plague, and behold, if the scales or the itch hasn't spread, and there is no yellow hair in it or gold hair, the appearance of the scale or the itch isn't deeper than the skin, then he shall be shaved. He shall not shave the scale or the itch, or the priest shall shut him up who has the scale or the itch 7 more days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the scales or the itch, and behold, if the itch hasn't spread into the skin, and its appearance isn't deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the itch spreads in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall examine him, and behold, if the itch has spread in his skin, the priest shall not look for the yellow hair. He is unclean. But if in his eyes the itch is arrested, and the black hair has grown in it, the itch is healed, he is clean. The priest shall pronounce him clean. When a man or woman has a bright spot in the skin of the body, white, bright, spotting spots, then the priest shall examine them, and behold, if the bright spots on the skin of their body are dull white, it is a rash or a mole. It has broken out in the skin, he is clean. So he's making it, this is like breaking out all over the body, right? Like your whole body just broke out with stuff. We're talking about a rash here. So it's saying this is a rash. He's clean. If a man's hair has fallen from his head, he is bald, he is clean. If his hair has fallen off from the front part of his head, his forehead is bald, he is clean. So men, don't worry, bald head, you're good. But, right? But if there is a bald, if in the bald head or the bald forehead, a reddish white plague, it is leprosy breaking out in his bald head or his bald forehead. Then the priest shall examine him, and behold, if the rising of the plague is reddish white in his bald head or in his bald forehead, like the appearance of leprosy in the skin of his flesh, he is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall surely pronounce him unclean. His plague is on his head. The leper in whom this plague shall wear torn clothes, and the hair of his head shall hang loose, unrestrained, let it grow long. So we got the long hair on the shall cover his upper mouth, right? Why? Because it spreads that way. Airborne. That's why they got to be released as well, through the touch and the speaking. Shall cover his mouth with the material, and shall cry. He is supposed to let everybody know, I'm unclean, I'm unclean. It's a sign to keep everybody away from me. Don't come near me. Right? And so what is this? That's the face mask. Right? It's the lepers that's supposed to be the face mask. You know, to keep it all inside. And they supposed to be removed, quarantined out the camp. Right? 47, the garment also that the plague of leprosy is in. So we talking about clothes having leprosy, right? What is the clothes? This is about mold and mildew on your clothes. This is leprosy. It's a fungi, y'all. It's the same thing. And it affects man the same way, right? So we got mold in the houses, in the cars, and in the clothes, in the closets, right? This is sickness and disease. Of the linen garment, whether it is warp or woof, the linen or of the wool, whether in the skin or anything made of skin, if the plague is greenish or reddish in garment or in the skin or of the warp or of the woof or anything made of skin, it is the plague of leprosy and shall be shown to the priest. The priest shall examine the plague and isolate the plague 7 days. He shall examine the plague on the 7th day. If the plague has spread in the garment, either in warp or the woof or in the skin, whatever use the skin is used for, the plague is a destructive mildew. It is unclean. He shall burn the garment, whether the warp or the woof, in the wool or the linen, or anything of skin in which the plague is, for it is a destructive mildew. It shall burn in the fire. 15 and 53. And if the priest examined it, and behold, the plague hasn't spread in the garment, either in the warp or the woof, or anything of skin, then the priest shall command that they shall wash the thing which the plague is, and he shall isolate it 7 more days. And when the priest shall examine it after the plague is washed, and behold, if the plague hasn't changed its color, and the plague hasn't spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it with fire. It is a mildew spot, whether the bareness is inside or outside. So we're talking about mold and mildew on clothes, but I'm saying mold and mildew on any substance right now. Leviticus 56. Did I just read this? Yes. Okay. So signs of a house being contaminated. So this is also why we clean house on Passover on unleavened bread, to get all yeast, mold, and mildew out the house. I'm telling you that it has a direct connection to the ability of the angel of destruction to come in and consume, right? Yahweh spoke to, Leviticus 14 and 33, Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Aaron saying, when you have come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for possession, and put a spreading mildew in a house in the land of your possession, then he who owns the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, there seems to be to me some sort of plague in the house. The priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest goes into the examine the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterwards the priest shall go into inspect the house. He shall examine the plague, and behold, if the plague is in the walls of the house, which hollow streets, greenish and reddish, and it appears to be deeper than the walls, then the priest shall go out of the house of the door of the house and shut up the house 7 days. The priest shall come again on the 7th day and look. If the plague hasn't spread in the walls of the house, Then the priest shall command that they take out the stones in which the plague, and cast them in the unclean place outside of the city. And he shall cause the inside of the house to be scraped all over, and they shall pour out mortar that they shall scrape off outside of the city into an unclean place. They shall take other stones and put them in the place of these stones, and he shall take other mortar and shall plaster the house. So now we don't have stones anymore. What we have is drywall. But drywall is a form of a rock, nevertheless. And we know that in California, at least, even here in Israel, they suffer with a lot of mildew in the walls. So y'all know that they know that this is deadly. This is poisonous and toxic to live in a house full of mold in the walls. That the authorities got to come. Whoever owns that house got to come and replace those walls, not put some bleach on it. They got to replace those walls, get it out, right? It's dangerous. 43, if the plague comes again and breaks out in the house, after he has taken out the stones and after he has scraped the house and after it was plastered, then the priest shall come in and look, and behold, if the plague has spread in the house, it is a destructive mildew in the house. It is unclean. He shall break down the houses, its stones, and its timber, and all the houses' mortar. He shall carry them out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, he who goes into the house while it is shut up shall be unclean until the evening. He who lies down in the house shall wash his clothes, and he who eats in the house shall wash his clothes. This is coming to the end, cleansing of a home. If the priest shall come in and examine it, so the cleansing of the home is the same thing of the cleansing of the leper and the cleansing of the clothes that has the mildew. If the priest shall come in and examine it, and behold, the plague has been spread in the house after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. To cleanse the house, he shall take 2 birds, a cedar wood, a scarlet, and hyssop. He shall kill one of the birds in the earthen vessel over the running water. He shall take the cedar wood and the hyssop and the scarlet and the living bird, and dip them into the blood of the slain bird and into the running water, and the sprinkle of the house 7 times. He shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird and with the running water, with the living bird, with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. But he shall let the living bird go out of the city into the open field. So shall he make atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. There is the law for any plague. This is the law for any plague of leprosy, or for an itch, and for the destructive mildew of a garment, and for a house, and for a rising, or for a scab, or for a bright spot, to teach when it is unclean and when it is clean. This is the law of leprosy. And so I'm going to go back again, just read it one more time. When we go into Revelations and we see the 5th seal, which is going to actually break out 3 times, not 1 time. It is leprosy. It is a scab. It is a breaking. And so this uncleanness is due to demonic spirits. It's through even the mildew in the walls, and this is what we call a haunted house. So that's the spirit of death in your walls, y'all. That is a demonic spirit that has now attached itself to a host, a virus that is attached itself to a bacteria, a yeast, or mold, or fungi, to now flourish through and to have life, to kill and steal it, and to steal your energy, and steal your cleanliness, and destroy you, right? And so this is demonic in nature, right? And this is the presence of demons, fallen spirits, angels, and unclean spirits that have either gotten into your system, gotten into your houses, in your walls, or in your food, and they're giving it to you. It's in your medication, right? Like I said, so these things are not living. The yeast can not have a life form when it's dried up, but it's activated as soon as it hits water and gets sugar, right? It becomes alive again, right? So this spirit is like it doesn't have a soul, right? It's not really a spirit. It needs spirit to live. It needs sugar, and it needs spirit, and it needs protein to survive. The virus as well, right? And so they're not living. They're not living until you give it life. So these things are coming to steal, rob, and kill. and destroy you and to take over your soul, take over your house. You know, the fifth angel and the star from the sky, which has fallen from the earth, the key to the pit of the abyss was given to him. He opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke went up out of the pit like the smoke from a burning furnace. The sun and the air were darkened, so there was a lack of vitamin D because of the smoke from the pit. Then out of the smoke came forth locusts on the earth, protein, flesh eating bugs. That's what a locust is. And the power was given them as scorpions, poisonous venom, toxins that eat at your flesh. And they were told that they should not hurt the grass or the green or the tree, but only the people that don't have the seal in their foreheads. They were given power not to kill, but to torment for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion, meaning they're burning your flesh, right? The resemblance, where was I? They had golden crowns. They had golden crowns. So he talks about them if it's gold, if this particular leopard has a gold spot, they have faces, right? So that means they have a round bump that's coming protruding off the skin. That's a face. That's what you call it. Is it come to a head, right? Their hair like women's hair. So the leprous man is supposed to walk around with his hair out now and let it go, right? And he has teeth like a lion. Teeth is to rip into the flesh and suck the blood. They have a breastplate, the breastplate of iron. They have a defense system. So there's no antidote. There's no vaccine. There's nothing you can do to kill it. They have the sounds of chariot as many horses rushing to war. They're spreading fast across the body. They have tails like those of scorpions, and it stings, venom in their tails, and they have power to harm them for 5 months. And this is the angel of destruction. The same thing that he says is going to happen if we take the mark of the beast. So I'm coming down to the end of this.
That ain't nothing like what Christians been teaching.
Yep, I know. That's why I say ride with me. I don't know if y'all can follow this, if I can get y'all to see this, right? Because after they done taught that those little scary monsters, you can't see what I'm saying, right? That is boiled. Even though it tells you, it gives you the interpretation what it is. Okay. All right. So what is mold? Here's mold. Just to give y'all a picture. Y'all all know what mold look like. It grows on the food. You know, it's in the air. It grows on the walls and in the clothes. And so during this time of the year, right after rain, after this season is when mold is really strong in the house. During the Feast of Unleavened Bread, as we are to get all yeast and fungi, we clean the house. Put bleach on the walls, get some mold, you know, spray or whatever, clean the walls, paint the walls, clean the house, clean it. I'm telling you that the spirit of death harnesses these things. So what is mold? It is a fungus that is grown in the form of multicellular filaments called hyphae. In contrast, fungi that cannot adopt a single cell growth habit are called yeast, right? So they one is fungus multi-cell, the yeast is one cell, but yet actually the fungi can change. The network of these tubular branches, hyphae called mycelium, is considered a single organism. Disease may result from allergenic sensitivity to mold spores from growth of pathogenic molds within the body, or from the effects of ingested or inhaled toxic compounds, mycotoxins, produced by molds. Mycotoxins are toxic compounds that are naturally produced by certain types of molds, fungi. Molds that can produce mycotoxins grow on numerous foodstuffs, such as cereals, dried fruit, nuts, and spices. Mold growth can occur either before harvest or after a harvest during storage in the foods itself under warm, damp, humid conditions. Most mycotoxins are chemically stable and survive food processes. The Koji molds are a group of Aspergillus species, notably Aspergillus oryzae and the secondary a soje that have been cultured in Eastern Asia for many centuries. These are used to ferment a soybean and wheat mixture to make soybean paste or soy sauce. So also know, y'all, no soy sauce, no soybean, none of that stuff coming from China to make the food soy sauces. Right? Koji molds break down the starch in rice, barley, sweet potatoes, etc. A process called saccharification in the production of sake or sochu and other distilled spirits. Koji molds are also used in the preparation of katsubishi. I don't know what that is. Red rice yeast is a product of mold, Monascus perennis, growth of rice, and is common in Asian diets. So be careful with the Asian spice, the sakis and the teriyakis and all of that. All right, like I said, when it comes to the spices and the sauces, you might will darn near remove every spice and sauce. All of those mixed sauces, unless you're making the sauce yourself, get it out the house. Darn near most of them is made with yeast, mold, or some process like that. Numbers. So I'm going to end it like this. This is in lieu of everything that I'm showing you about the mark of the beast. When y'all watch the clean and unclean, and as y'all go through what I talked about, the AIs and the mark of the beast being a name, a number, and a mark. Who can curse you if Yah is for you? But yet we're under the curse. As I watched this young man's lesson to show us what the government is doing, how they're poisoning us with the vaccines and the diet and the food, it's in everything. It's because after the end of that man's lesson, he's nothing but an idiot not to see that Yah said, come out so you don't receive of her plagues. Now he's there telling you that it's airborne and your protection is herbs that you got to get from Africa. At that point, you might as well just go to Africa. And you can only get through him, right? So this don't make no sense. This is the folly. This is the madness. This is the stupidity of our people that they have. That in Daniel, it brings me back to what he says. And many of the wise of your people shall understand for many, right? So they're telling you and giving you the understanding of what the beast system is doing, right? All of these ministries are giving you knowledge of what they do. Watchman Report, Honor and Humility. They're all telling you what's going on. They're giving you wisdom, truly. It's not the wisdom of Yah. It's not Chachma. It's Sechem, intelligence, right? But he said they're going to still fall. They're going to still fall by the sword because they have no wisdom. They are wicked against Yah's covenant because they don't want to do what Yah told us to do. We don't want to have. We still want Babylon. So if you want Babylon, you're going to get Babylon. You're going to get her destruction. He said, come out so you don't receive of her plagues, but yet they can't see. Now they're telling you all the plagues of Egypt, but that don't mean come out. It just means come out of her sins. But the plague is the sin. The plague is the sin. It's caused you defilement. It is sin to you. You know? So Yah says that we have been cursed. We have been bewitched. We have been sorcered and enchanted. But nobody can do this unless we allow it. And so we have a choice. He says separate. He says separate. So Numbers 25, this is how I'm going to end this. Balaam's first vision. He took up this parable and said, so we know the story that Moab and the kings of Moab, Balak wanted Balaam, who recognized Yah, to curse Israel. And every time he set up a sacrifice on the mountain and looked towards them to curse them, Yah wouldn't let him. All he could do is bless us. So he took up this parable and said, from Aram has Balak brought me, the king of Moab, from the mountains of the east. Come, curse Jacob for me. Come defy Israel. How shall I curse whom Elohim has not cursed? How shall I defy whom Yahweh has not defied? For from the top of the rocks I see him. From the hills I see him. Behold, it is a people that dwell alone and shall not be reckoned among the nations. This is prophetic, y'all. Didn't happen yet. Where is he looking? He's in Jordan. at the top of the mountain of Jordan in the hills, looking from the east, right? Looking from the east. He's seeing Israel come to be a nation in the wilderness that is not reckoned among the nations, that is separated, that dwell alone. Who can count the dust of Jacob or the number of the fourth part of Israel? So what is he talking about, the fourth part of Israel? What fourth part is he talking about? I'm saying that that's the remnant. Let me die the death of the righteous. Let my last end be like this. Elohim has not, is this the second one? I'm skipping to the second vision. So that was the first vision that he saw. He saw us set aside, apart, separated in the wilderness, standing alone, blessed of Yah. The second vision, when he asked them to curse us again, 19, Elohim is not someone that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. He has said, I will, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken and will not make it good? So he made a promise and he will keep it. Behold, I have received and commanded to bless. He has blessed and I can't reverse it. He has not seen iniquity in Jacob, neither has he seen perverseness in Israel. Yahweh his Elohim is with him. The shout of a king is among them. That's Yehoshua is with us. Where? In the wilderness. This is where this is the state that we're going to have to come back to in the wilderness, without iniquity, without spot, without perversion, without blemish, separated from the nations. Elohim brings them out of Egypt. He has, as it were, the strength of a wild ox. Surely there is no enchantment with Jacob, neither is there any divination with Israel. Elohim brings them out of Egypt. He has, as it were, the strength of a wild ox. Surely there is no enchantment with Jacob, neither is there any divination with Israel. Nor it shall be said of Jacob or Israel, what has Elohim done? So this is the state when we're cleansed from all of this. No enchantment, no divination, no sorcery, none of that is upon us. Behold, the people rises up as a lioness. Who's our lion? As a lion, he lifts himself up. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drinks of the blood of the slain. So I end with that, everybody. On this feast, as we're supposed to look at the inner man, get the yeast, the leavening, the wickedness, the hypocrisy, the malice out of our hearts, to serve Yah in sincerity and truth and one to another. That is to look into the inner man, not just if I'm keeping the commandments or not, but try your heart, the hypocrisy, the extra word that is not the word of Yah, that all of these teachers and leaders have put on you, right? And return back to the unadulterated, untampered word, the bread of life, what Yehoshua taught, and see if we are living that. See what that looks like and look up and see if any of these people are teaching Yehoshua's true word or even willing to live by it. So as we come into this season, like I said, the whole thing about removing the yeast out your house was also the prevention for the angel of death, because that's what mold and fungus is. It's a death-causing parasite. It's a spirit, and spirits don't have their own souls. They need your soul to feed off of you. So let us get the leavening out of our hearts, the evil spirits, the evil diseases. Let's be aware of what this beast is, the abomination that desolates, that will destroy your soul. This stuff can change your DNA. It will seal you. You will become born again. It's flesh eating. It wants to attach to your cell, reproduce in your RNA, and change who you are. It is the sign that you are unclean in the eyes of Yah. And the only thing that's going to, and we all, every single one of us on this board, I'm going to say it again, have had a vaccine, have broken out with chickenpox, mingles, shingles, dingles, whatever the name is, we have had it. The flu, the common cold, it's a virus, y'all. We got it. We got it. One way or another, maybe more than others, right? But it has to be completely cleansed. And so therefore that is the sign that we're still in a system that is unclean and that we are being penetrated with these things, either by airborne, by bad behavior, sexual behavior, promiscuous behavior, not separating, touch not the unclean things, right? Yah's calling for complete separation. I mean, even here in Israel, though I'm separated as much as I can be, and I'm not quite in the place that's full with sin and demonic spirits like Babylon is, that's still everywhere. You know, that's still everywhere. You live in a place, you go to the common supermarket and stuff, you see all these old, crispy European, they got psoriasis. I see them all over, their hands is breaking out. Boy, I see it. You know, you can see it. You're in the marketplace. So you're still behind this stuff, you know. So when are we ever going to really be totally removed? There's only one place. There's only one place. So is there any questions?
Well, thank you very much. It is an honor to be here. It is a cold spring day. I am surrounded by clergy, and our governor is on Long Island. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. You know, Governor, I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to look at you. I want to thank you for your leadership and for your resolve to this issue. We need you to continue going with this vaccine. That's right, that's right. We need you to keep going with this vaccine. You know, COVID has devastated the state. Long Island continues to be one of the hardest hit regions, especially for our Black and brown New Yorkers. We must take the vaccine. Now, I'm going to tell you a personal story, off script. So today, right after this, I am going to have an infusion. And I'm going to have an infusion because I want to make sure that the cancer that was in my body does not return. I'm not asking what's in the infusion. I'm not looking up all of the ingredients in the infusion. I am sticking out my arm and I am taking the infusion. And that's what we have to do. Our communities take insulin, metformin, all kinds of, we can't line up at the drugstore so quickly because we want to save our lives. And that's what the governor is talking about. We must take the vaccine. The vaccine is a weapon that wins the war on COVID. And we need our clergy because, as Martin Luther King said, religion and science are not competing interests. They are our trusted messengers. And when your pastor says to do something, you trust your pastor, you trust your doctor. That's what we need to do. This shot is the only thing that will get our lives back. Whichever vaccine is offered to you. The governor, our governor, has done an amazing job for Long Island, for New York. It is there for you to take it, and we cannot have any excuses at all. We all need to do our part, not just for ourselves, but for our families, for our friends, for our community. So, Governor, I thank you for being here. You stay continuing to lead us through this crisis because we need you. Thank you.